This conference will now be recorded.
All right, call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, as we gather in this day to do the important business for the people of the village of Owego, grant us wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Amen.
Amen. All right. So as usual, our first section is public comment.
Sorry, it looks like you have a busy meeting. I'll read very fast. Pierre Gordon, village resident, representing the Friends of Evergreen. The Friends have had a very successful year. We've raised almost $50,000 for work in the cemetery. The money has been used by Fred to install a new entry guardrail. Sandy Rusak restored the chapel stained glass. John Pitko installed one of two new welcome and tourist signs. We wanted to thank Fred and the crew for an especially good year of great work up in the cemetery. I personally want to thank Fred for getting better bids in short order for the proposed East Avenue Chapel parking lot than those that it took me 6 months to get, which were used to secure a grant of $25,000 from the Mildred Faulkner Truman Foundation. Fred explained the plan for the project to the Friends President, Joan Hunt, Cemetery Committee Head John Rickletts, and Cemetery Commissioner Fran Van Hoosen, letting them know that he would be looking for bids to replace the concrete pad in front of the chapel with the $5,500 remaining. And all of the Friends thought that plan was great. The board at their regular meeting on November 21 voted to accept the Force Excavating low bid of $18,500 to create the parking lot. However, I was informed that there's a problem with the board's approval of the bid. The funds were as a result of a contract between the Friends of Evergreen and Mildred Faulkner Truman Foundation. The Friends cannot be a pass-through to fund village project on grant monies under that contract. So I'll be coordinating with the Mildred Faulkner Truman Foundation to inform them of the modified strategy. I don't think there's any problem. The bid is great. All the work should still be done under Fred's direction with the board's approval. But we have to have the board of the Friends of Evergreen approve it and then approach the board to have the board approve the Friends project. It's a distinction, maybe not an important one, but it does satisfy the contractual obligation. If that's okay with the board, then the board's approval of the bid, it's going to be the Friends approving, and then I guess we might need Nate for a more subtle interpretation of that. I mean, it's going great. The bids are half what I've got for the, so it's all good, but I think we have to make it formal. So.
Yeah, Nate should know how to do that because we deal with that a lot with the fairgrounds and the agriculture society.
Okay, I'll give you this. Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, well, the public, so I guess we're on public comment. So next thing is hunt engineering. So I don't know how you guys want to fight this out.
I can go first then.
Yeah, he's not the coach handle on it.
Well, he said he was gonna take a lot longer than that one.
So we got two things. We got our police station grant, kind of an update, and, everybody probably saw know about the proposals for the engineering. So he's here to present on that. We get to the right.
Yep.
Right, tell me what to do, I'll do it.
Yeah, there's just put together a
Hold on
couple,
1 minute, let
couple slides on this.
me share my screen here. So that if people are actually recording, to be able to see what we're talking about.
Okay. So,
Maybe introduce yourself.
oh, sorry. My name is Gary Henry. I'm principal and architect with Hunt Engineers, Architects and Land Surveyors. We had responded to recent RFP that the village put out to do some restoration work at the police station, pretty much right across the street from the fire station that we're working on as well. With that, there were some requirements for WMBE companies that we have to work with in order to meet the requirements of the grant that you guys are getting. So with that, we're teaming up with Johnson Schmidt, who is a historic restoration architect out of Corning. We're also working with them on the refurbishing the clock tower at the fire hall right there as well. And then Popley Design Group, they're to do the structural evaluation of the building. And then Hunt will be the architect and managing and doing some of the other stuff, construction administration. So it's a grant that the village received from the Historic Preservation Office, roughly $568,000 in construction cost is what it is. Those are the requirements for a percentage of our fee needs to go to WMB companies. Schedule, we're looking for having plans complete according to the RFP by the end of April, and looking to hopefully get this out in May with possible construction starting this summer. I believe the grant has a 3-year time limit on the money. So we have up to 3 years to spend that grant money. The scope of the work on it is really improving the entrance to make it more safe for both the employees and visitors that are going to the building. Window replacement, so all the windows and the window sills are in poor condition. Brick restoration and repointing. The foundation is in rough shape, so we're going to be looking at what we need to do to stabilize that, along with the front steps and then the roof gutter and downspouts, evaluating that. Apparently there's some active leaks and issues there that we'll be looking to try to take care of with this project. And then the basement entrance itself is in poor shape. We'll be looking to fix that and bring that up to be functional. So that's just a quick overview. So I don't know if you have any questions on that. Yeah.
Are you gonna put a roof over the front stairs? Like the back porch has?
Not 100% sure on that. Anything that we do, like adding to the building, will have to get approved by the State Historic Office. So they may not want something like that, and we can obviously propose doing something like that to help protect it during snow and rain.
That's what I'm saying.
They're gonna ask, I mean, there are things that have to be done, et cetera, but they're gonna ask us which things like that we want done.
Yeah.
These are the items that were in the RFP that were identified as needing to be done. Obviously, we would sit down with you and evaluate what's the priorities. And I'm not, what was it, $560,000. Hopefully you can get the lion's share of this done, but
it really depends on how much foundation work needs to be done, how much of the brick pointing. Do we need to replace all of the windows? So we'll have to definitely prioritize what needs to happen now and what could wait.
And it is a 75-25 match.
Okay.
So we gotta come up with 25% of the money, which we knew when we applied for it.
Remind me, Mike,
Yeah.
remind me what, do you have the numbers kind of on the top of your head? What would we get, 460 or something, and something, what do you
We're
remember?
getting 520, we're on up for about 125,000. So,
Gary, I've got your proposal here in front of you, your fee, is that the latest number?
When we talked, last week, we are gonna get our structural engineer out here to look at it and get some firm pricing from our consultants. And hopefully we'll be able to come down a little bit on that.
I heard there was some talk of that getting to
Yeah, I hadn't had the
whatever our
chance.
budget was, and we're working there, okay?
Yeah, I hadn't had the chance to get them out here.
Okay.
With the holidays and everybody's busy running around, so.
For us ignorant people, what is brick pointing?
Brick pointing is the grout lines between the brick.
That's what I thought it was.
So if it's crumbling, falling out, they would scrape it and redo that.
Can't you just call that regrounding, so I know what the hell you're talking about?
it actually holds the bricks in. I mean,
Yeah.
it goes bad, the bricks start falling out.
Yeah, we had to do that at the sewer plant.
Yeah.
Some of those. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It can be expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time consuming.
Yeah, labor.
Tedious.
Are we had the two proposals, we had the recommendations, are we generally prepared to choose one of these?
Yeah, so we have a motion that nobody got, maybe but Cindy made a motion to choose Hunt if we go that way.
Who made this motion?
Cindy take this. Well,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
The other company was not willing to fluctuate, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, that's brand new, okay.
I know one thing I personally liked about Hunt, obviously we have a good relationship with them. And aside from that, they're willing to do a lot of the MWBE
Yeah.
paperwork for us.
And I noticed the other company would support us, but not do it for
Right,
us.
yes.
So I see the motion. It doesn't have any details, doesn't have numbers or anything.
That is true. It's basically to continue forward with Hunt. I mean, obviously, we gotta get a firm price.
It's kind of like a letter of intent motion, or?
Yeah.
Because that motion says to approve the contract, but I'm just saying, we always like to have some detail or some numbers. So how do we go about this?
I know originally we talked about putting a not to exceed number in there. We can do that,
I don't know,
but that could bite us a year and a half from now if we have to exceed it, or April, hopefully. We could use maybe their original bid. You think your original bid is high?
Yeah, it's not gonna get higher than that, obviously.
So we could say not to exceed that.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty safe, I think.
we were negotiating to our number.
Right.
Which you're working on, but I'm just trying, we're gonna make some kind of I assume, some kind of
Okay,
a decision or motion, and I'd rather it be somewhat
yeah, it's
specific.
it's not gonna be higher than what we've given you in the proposal, so we are looking to have that come down. One of the things that was in the RFP that we thought we would have to do was the cultural evaluation?
Yeah, we've
You guys have already done that, so I need to evaluate what we have planned for that in our proposal. So it's something that we were planning on doing that we obviously don't have.
I was looking for
The bunkers.
the Indian arrowheads that we hit, yes.
So that part's already done, so that's we've already paid for that.
Yep.
And all that stuff counts towards our match, because there's a couple things we've already paid for, just going through the grant. It's not a huge chunk of money, but it's a little bit.
So, one more time. So, from the proposal I have, there was a construction budget of 66,560 and a budget plus supervision of 68,200.
Yeah, the clarification came out, it was a little confusing as far as what was construction, and then there's like construction administration numbers, but the initial RFP was only through doing the documents, and then there was a clarification that wanted us to do the construction administration. So the larger number would be for us to do all of that.
So they would support us all the way through the bill. So the inspections and all that.
We're gonna make a motion here in a minute, and I assume, I guess I'm gonna do it, and then you're gonna have to get with us and shape those things up. So the motion is I'm going to make a motion. We have a written motion here.
Right.
To approve the contract, all that's on the written motion, with the price being a maximum of 68,200. Got that ready? Yeah, that's
As presented.
Laura can make one longer, but.
Well, I just want to make sure you're done before I second it. I second that.
All right. Any discussion on that motion? We'll vote, Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. All
Right. Thank you very much.
right. On to part two. DRI update. Everybody knows James?
Hi, everyone.
Or Santa
Merry
Claus
Christmas,
tonight?
happy holidays. Yeah, I'm still working on the beard. I've got a couple more weeks. Doing real well around the midsection though.
I just took mine off.
Wait a couple of years.
So I would like to start with Marvin Park, actually. I think it's probably the easier with less to discuss. We'll just give you guys a quick run through of where we're heading as far as the drawings. Not a whole lot of activity on this phase. I mean, we're producing the drawings and getting the details and everything up to date, so it's a lot of work on our end, but as far as you guys are really concerned, all of the decisions have been made, all the construction timelines and stuff have been met, so. We're just the first couple pages here, the first one is just outlining, as you guys know, these are kind of like 5 or 6 smaller projects all bundled into one. So the next one here is the playground. So that's kind of our first project on the site. The second one going through here is the architectural structure, the bathhouse there.
Oh, yeah. Right here.
Yep. The next one is the court refurbishment for the basketball court. We have the entranceway, the skate park on 1.5. Yep.
Is there a design on that or not yet?
Not quite yet. So essentially the way we're going to function it is, if you really think about the skate park design, it's kind of plug into the site. Like we're going to give them a graded pad, and all their obstacles and everything are going to go on top of that. But their final design isn't really going to affect ours. They're responsible for all the scope and layout of the obstacles, the paths, collision courses, all of that stuff. And then, but the pad itself will be graded based on our design for drainage and for the site. So a lot like the bathhouse, it's really kind of like 2 drawing sets that get plugged together.
So you're using the same foundation, or you're gonna add to it, or
Well,
start from scratch?
there's no foundation really. It's just a sub base. So I mean, we're gonna tear up that the pad that's there, and we're assuming that there's no subsoil problems because there's no cracking, there's no sinking, there's no damage to the existing surface other than the fact that it's really old. So we don't have anything planned on that, but everything else is really built above grade and outlined, and they'll be doing all that in concrete. As long as the pad is sloped in the right directions, it'll drain.
and all the materials that you are using can withstand a possible flood?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Yeah, one of the many reasons we opted to go with that concrete structure as well.
James? Fencing along the fairgrounds, I know we were sniffing at chain link fence there, which doesn't look very nice. And I know it's more expensive to put something else in.
Yeah.
Have we got
So as we kind of start to finalize our design, we'll get the numbers tweaked in there. Right now, we're really in the get information on the page stage. My architects that I spoke, or landscape architects that I spoke with, are optimistic that we can do something. Their recommendation is vinyl coating of some sort. Thinking anything beyond that might be a little expensive considering the length.
so something to make it more attractive of some sort?
Yeah, the vinyl coating, I don't know how much experience you have it, but I mean, they have lots of different colors and different finishes and stuff that you can play with that. Like I said, you want to be careful because even 5-10 cents extra square foot ends up being a lot over, 1,000 something feet, so.
That vinyl coating, is that the slat kind or the?
No, it's the
more
coverage,
chain link
yeah.
kinda?
Yeah. So, yeah, so we talked about putting in slats. If we do, they would be few and far between, not like covering, because we don't want it to feel like a keep out statement. But we haven't really delved very much into what exactly that's gonna look like or how extensive we might go for that.
Yeah, I think the best idea is to keep it so that the inside of the park is still visible
Yeah.
from the roadway.
Yeah, and that was our immediate.
It was just over by the fence that separates Weissman's from that playground area. So we would like to get something, still trying to get a hold of Mr. Weissman there to try to get something that can, more like with the slats, you get some kind of coloring going on so that it's just not, you can see the cars being crushed.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, as part of our research, we'd be more than happy to, hand you guys over some of that information so you can use it to your mutual benefit to gain that, so.
Our graffiti artist over there is in the frame states.
What's this one?
That is the crossing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so a lot of the existing condition plans aren't gonna look like much because, well, there's not much there. So, some of the plans, they will outline really like what we're looking to take out. So kind of keep that in mind as I'm sending you these preliminary drawings to review, to keep an eye out on that stuff. So this is the playground essentially. So you can kind of see the 3 new locations for the equipment. We roughed out, I sent you guys some preliminary shots of what I thought, were my recommendations of what you can put in here. We won't make those final decisions until much closer because supply and price change so much with playground equipment. Ideally, if you can get a contractor that's willing to work with you, you might be able to snag something that's like way on sale, closer to construction. It's hit or miss, but if your contractor is like very hard nosed to the contract, you might just end up with, that's why it's important to pick something out that you can afford to begin with that's gonna match it. But all these larger squares that you see there are kind of our estimated fall spaces. So this one's a bit tricky because we're not installing all new equipment, we're only supplementing the existing one, but we still need to restore the fall surface. So we essentially need to develop a fall area for each one of these equipment. You can kind of see the larger outline. You can see we'll be going from fence to fence with a large kind of arched curve, and we'll be looking to do engineered fiber in this area. Questions on the playground? If you guys have any recommendations on equipment, I mean, if there's like a really big, like particular item that kids around here seem to like, we'll try to do that. For right now, I'm not a big fan of those spinny things like the one that was there. They tend to tear up the ground. People tend to get hurt on them, no matter how safe they are. So we did kind of the crawling thing, and then we were replacing one big slide with a bigger slide and a smaller slide, just based on the prices and safety. That seems to be, that also should help with your guys' insurance as well from the report that that came
And
around
the
last
fall
time.
zones are one of the big things. Rusty?
James, and we were keeping, we had a couple of jungle gym things and things, we're keeping those ones that would seem
Yep.
pretty new and pretty good shape, right?
Yep, the only things that are being removed are the slide and, I wish they were called the rotary thing, yeah.
Death machine.
Yeah,
Can't hook
I
up
mean-
the motorcycle
Been
wheel to
there
it to make it go faster.
60 years.
Can't do that no more?
Nah. So, I mean, we were slated to remove that anyway, but the insurance report that came very shortly indicated that we attacked it, so.
Right.
So the bathroom, likewise with the skate park, I mean, these plans, right here are really site plans, so you're not gonna see a lot of detail in the building, but we'll be laying out the pad in the front. I guess here's where some of our first questions, what are you guys thinking? I know you guys want low maintenance. Right now, there's currently kind of like a mulch area around the outside. I mean, are we gonna keep this pretty clean cut and maybe your arts committee can do something with the outside of the building? Are you wanting some sort of mulch or small plants around it? Is there any preference in that?
Where's this again?
The bathroom.
That's American, yeah, something low maintenance.
Rocks?
Yeah, I mean, we could do rocks if you really want something there. I mean,
Do we have to have anything there?
I was gonna say, my recommendation would be nothing.
Nothing.
Um,
Just mow on grass.
Yeah, just leave it at grass in there.
That's really low maintenance.
Yeah, so, the only thing is sometimes that painting surface is really obvious there and gets dirty or whatever, but I mean, cleaning it's not bad. Personally, in Elmira, they do, with a lot of spaces like this, they've been letting the local artists paint murals on, so I like that, but.
I've said it numbers of times. I really want you, potentially, I don't, what the rest of the board wants, to put security on that thing. I've talked about it many times, a great big iron gate or whatever on those doors, because if we don't put something there, they're gonna go in there
Vandalized.
and vandalize it. They've been doing it for 60 years and they're gonna do it again. If we don't have some kind of potential way to lock that up.
Do you have any
It's a thought.
notes about security other than the?
Right now, we're just showing a element of doors.
I mean, you guys have problems with currently is it a hollow metal door?
Yeah.
And you guys have problems with people breaking into that?
Yeah, totally, totally.
So that's why I keep saying, an iron gate that can close and lock. It's just a thought, but something I want you to,
No, I appreciate you bringing that
assuming
up.
that the rest of the board is thinking that same way.
That much money into that and not protected.
Yeah. You know, a
What about
baseball
a
bat or
drop
something
door,
in
like
there
a
breaking stuff.
single, like garage?
Or the kinds that are hurricane, New York City deli door.
I don't know how expensive they are, they seem pretty low key.
We'll dig into some things. I will admit that previously my notes on security mainly just reference the existing cameras and stuff that are around it that are gonna be reused. So, but it's not something that is difficult to adjust and accommodate.
And almost, I don't know how elaborate we want to get, but maybe something automated there, because
Yeah, that's something we'll keep in mind. That was the first thing that popped in my head is like, if you have anything that's manual that shuts and gates, well, someone needs to come by and shut and open that, lock it every day.
I locked poor little Timmy in there at 5:05, are you?
right. It's down.
Did you leave him on the school bus?
Sometimes I gotta go, it could take 20 minutes.
Might be spending the money.
I should have you arrested.
I believe the inside of this building has been around a handful of times with you guys. We talked about the number of fixtures and everything that you wanted in there, and this has been approved and processed. At this point, we're pretty much ready to go with the building permit of this. Our architectural team did a good job crushing this out fast. I threatened them if they don't get there, they don't get any Christmas time off. So.
Yes, this is just the fence of the building. Very similar to what's there, but
Yeah, a lot of this,
A
they're
little
just
bigger.
detailed schedules. I mean, this is a lot of the stuff that we'll be going through. We're not gonna go through all the details with you guys. But if you do have time, please, flip through it and try to get anything that catches your eye. Feel free to ask questions. I'm always available. Structural, so it doesn't fall down. Alright, basketball courts. So keep in mind, the site plan itself is not the same as the planting or materials plan that, isn't in here. So like while we show, some just trees and stuff, all the details of those trees, what kind they are, how to plant them, how to take care of them, that stuff will apply on our landscaping and material plans. We do show a full court basketball system there. So right now we're looking at 5 benches, six benches. So kind of like 3 separate seating areas spread out around it. We are limited a little bit on location because of some telephone poles and signage around. As of right now, per your guys' request, there is no set plant on that other half. We are intentionally leaving it blank. If we find out at some point that there's budget and we want to do something with that before we go to bid, something we could potentially squeeze in there if it's very reasonable in terms of the engineering design and what needs to be done.
So there's no fence around that?
No fence. Entranceway, we've been coordinating with your guys', I'll probably get the acronym wrong, but IDS. So there's another, the sign guys, there's another part of your guys' program. So essentially what we're gonna do with a lot of the signs and stuff that aren't basic traffic control signs is once we have our notes and everything outlined, we'll send our drawings to them with a highlight and say, hey, we need details for these signs based on your guys' family recommendations. And I've seen kind of package that they have with the groups, because the goal is you guys don't want different signages in this area than you do all the other stuff that's going on. So we'll likely have one kind of large sign here with a couple directional signages and then your parking sign. One question we did have regarding the large sign, are you guys looking for more of a unique overall welcoming sign, or are we trying to get a purely informational directional sign that is just nicer than a standard one? I mean, what's your guys' vision for that? We've kind of reduced this entranceway like over and over and over again. So we just want to make sure we're hitting the target with it at this point.
What is our budget for it as far as ballpark?
I don't have it offhand, but I'll tell you that it's for a 14 by approximately 9 foot sign. So it's not a lot. I mean, this area has been significantly reduced.
So they are coming out in the rock entrance are coming out? I thought they were just getting.
No, they're not coming out. So you could see the 2 square areas. Those are the pillars.
Oh, okay.
So those will be restored, and we'll do some small planting beds around them just to, brighten them up and make them look a little better. But the actual signage will be first in there. So there's a large sign that'll be in a small planting bed there. And then, so the idea is, do we want that to be kind of a single signage to say, go this way, welcome to Marvin Park? Or do we want that to be more of a cultural piece where it's very wow, like look at that sign, and then maybe there's a couple other small signs that say skate park this way, pool this way.
Can we let you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about that.
Right.
Something for us to think about a little bit more. And we also might want to consider, doesn't mean we have to do it now, but we might end up putting something on those stones out front, the stone pillars. I don't know that we will, but
yeah,
that would be something also possible later.
Yeah, something like that would be, if you could give me that information sooner than later, it'll help to make sure when we do our final estimates and start squeezing these budgets down, that it's accommodated for.
We are talking about keeping the light out front too, just not upgrading it.
There are no plans to remove any lights.
Is that remember when we did the walk? No, you weren't there.
No,
That light that
was
overhangs it from when the fair's out?
We did the walkthrough.
Out on the street?
Oh,
Was
it's
Hunt
like a
there?
light bulb, right?
Yeah, Hunt was there, yes. He was one of them. Remember we were talking about that they wanted it upgraded for someone during the fair time? You guys wanted to keep that lit.
Yeah, there's some kind of weird light bulb like over the street there.
There's a camera out there?
No. Right where the two pillars are, on the right pillar, there's a line, an aerial line that comes across, and then it comes out into the street. We use it for the fair.
There's a camera on the board.
On that pole, but not on that, right?
That's where the light is.
Is that off of that pole? Okay.
So we sure want to pole there, because we'll probably end up putting the camera there.
The camera is on that pole,
Oh, I just, okay.
not on the rock there, where the
Okay.
entrance.
The pillars, are we keeping those like basically the same height they are today?
Yeah, I mean, the top couple layers might come off because they're significantly deteriorated. I think it'll probably be better just to kind of clean those off and put a nice clean cap on it. But generally speaking, they'll say, and I think one of them's a little bit taller than the other one anyway, so I think the idea will be to try to have them be the same height when we take off or what we need to, but.
Because I know at one point we talked about really like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even, and when we started cutting costs and budget, we kind of talked about that and said, well, even taking them out is gonna cost more money than just, because they're really not in bad shape, they need a little bit of TLC.
So once again, we're not trying to redesign or design this right here this second,
No.
but it's just striking my, I don't know if it'd look good, I don't know if it'd be doable, smart, easy. If we put on the top of those pillars, a little, not terribly exotic flagpole up each one. Just saying, and then some other times, whatever we're doing, we can throw a banner across that.
Yeah.
Temporary, just for any particular activity or something, just if you make something up there, you have the option of putting
That's not a bad idea.
a banner across. Just another thought about, I don't know if
So-
that's complicated or weird. I don't know what-
Yes and no, so I mean, it depends on the type of structure you look at. The problem is with a lot of those things, you tend to need a foundation because they're, a slender pole might not seem like it's a lot holding those banners, but when the wind catches it, that's a pretty hefty load there. Might be able to drill, almost like they have pillars that you can drill in with a steel pole that you could probably, put a pole up temporarily when you want to do it and connect it. Again, that stuff's not really cheap to install, because you need pretty hefty equipment to do that augering. But it's something I can look into, see if it fits in the budget.
Anybody else?
They have those banners with almost the wind holes in them, so that it is less invasive.
Just a
Yeah.
thought
Oh, I like the idea of something kind of temporary.
that we could throw up there for an
Yeah,
event to have a banner, not a.
We
Just
know
a
the
thought.
archway was not happening.
So one thing
Wanna look at that?
I'll go back and kind of scoot through. I know there are lighting improvements for a few of these. I do not think the entranceway was one of the areas that was going to get lighting improvements.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because I think the thought was that,
What do you think needs to be done there, Fred?
The tennis court, playground, and the entrance. The left side of it is fine. That's bright over there.
It's daytime over there.
And the outside is daytime. The tennis courts, stuff like that need to be lit up,
yeah, so
or have the option to light them up, I should say.
yeah, we'll have some lighting improvements on the basketball court.
Playground, that's pretty dark, very dark.
I'll have to double check into that.
Nothing good happens after sunset.
Excuse me?
Nothing good happens after sunset. Bring your kids home.
Yeah, I agree.
I had to double check, see what that was.
Did you guys talk about closing the park down at night, or this?
No, there was just a discussion about the time at which it technically closed.
I'm just asking.
I just emailed out the IDS stuff that I just got. There's supposed to be another virtual meeting tomorrow. They did put hypothetical Marvin Park signs, things like that in their art park. Obviously, it's not concrete, but that's just a vision that they had.
Yeah, we had met with them shortly after that, and they were supposed to put together some drafts for you.
Yeah,
So hopefully that can be discussed with them.
yeah, I just got the email, so I sent it out to the rest of the board members.
So skate park is the next one. So this kind of just shows our, our general seating arrangement that we're looking at with some planting things. As of right now, we are looking to keep this area disconnected. I believe the original one showed kind of a path connecting right up to the skate park itself. There's kind of like this mentality you have to be careful of. If you have a direct path in there, skateboarders are going to want to go down the path and skate on the new benches, and you don't want them to do that. But the alternative is you've now created a grass gap for them to jump from the skate park onto it. Ideally, we'll use some pavers or something there, so it's not a very nice, clean surface, and generally will discourage them from wanting to not land on that at full speed. So, other than making the gap too big, which I don't think we really want to do, because we want, a lot of the idea with this is we wanted the skate park to feel more of a part of the entire park as opposed to something that's just tucked in the corner. But otherwise, we're really just going to be doing a concrete pad here. As soon as Grindline has some more details on what the park is really going to look like, we'll try to fish that out to more for informational purposes. We'll fish it out to the community and to you guys. Overall, I believe we've been in agreement that we don't want to revisit the community comment kind of part of it, as we're already up against a pretty rough deadline here.
Not real important, just quick, if you got it on the top of your head, how big is that concrete slab now and how big is the new one? Or just if it's real easy.
So the current one is, or the new one is 150 by 80. I believe the old one is 130 by 75. So we only made it like just a little bit bigger.
And the goal, well, it's gonna be like a cast in place kind of.
Yeah, the whole thing will be cast in place. Just overall, the idea of low maintenance and wanting it to be sustainable, it's gonna help with your floodplain issues as well. With that stuff being above grade, you should be able to put some gravel and stuff under there that's gonna retain some water. And then, in addition, we know that you guys have a fair amount of BMXers, and we don't want to destroy, skate park or skateboard and rollerblade level equipment by, having heavier bikes and stuff slam on them all the time. So this is kind of our trail crossing. I believe originally this was considered to be one of the river projects or one of the trail extensions. We kind of cut off that trail extension area. It just felt like it made more sense to include this as part of Martin Park with the fence entrance and the cross, connecting it through to the skate park, and kind of just added some nice curves in there to get it closer to the skate park, so you don't feel like it's like going around it. Generally, do you guys see this as a very high volume, medium volume, or relatively low volume usage?
Low volume.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I just wanted to make sure, because we're gonna have this similar issue where like skateboarders and stuff are gonna want to come flying down that and turn around the sharp corners and stuff. But on the same note, you do want, mom and dad are crossing the park here, and they're like, hey, go to the skate park, we're gonna do a lap, we'll meet you back here on the way out, kind of thing.
We have to get state approval to put that crossing in there?
Yeah, the crosswalk part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys will need a DOT perm 33.
What a zip line. Right on the top of the semis.
Yeah, just get a ramp there, you can just jump the whole
Where's it
thing.
road though? Where's it coming up at the road?
By,
I know it's,
By nice egg there.
yeah. So you're gonna use, the old road? Thomas's old road, is that how we're getting to this?
No, this is coming right in by the skate park in Marvin Park and then crossing right over there.
So I believe that's in
Water
Street.
Street.
Water Street.
So we're gonna be away
Oh,
from
it's for the Water Street side.
Water Street coming up,
Oh,
then go
okay.
right in the park.
So it's not for the trail on that Fairleigh Park?
It's not.
No, okay.
Now, last time we had discussed that it wasn't worth the money or the headache to try to connect it over to that road and go the other way.
You just have to walk down the shoulder.
People will figure that out if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, that is my next question. There's a gate in that fence, and a new fence.
Yep, there's an intention to put a gate right there. You can kind of see the posts are separated there. Our next phase will kind of have more detailed notes and details saying what kind of fence. Last time we talked, we're gonna keep that relatively low key, probably just sliding or folding fences that just locks with a padlock. Because again, we're not trying to drastically keep people out. We just want to lock it for when you guys have the fair and you technically have to pay to get in.
Will there be some sort of concrete pylons or whatever so that a motor vehicle is not tempted to drive down there?
Well, it's not wide enough for a motor vehicle, strictly
Okay.
speaking. The pad will only be 8 feet wide. But I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, the hill isn't that steep to begin with. If someone really wanted to drive there, they could. So I mean, even if we put like a couple bollards right there, I mean, they could just drive. I mean, we could keep the fence small enough where it's not doesn't like encourage somebody to try to drive a vehicle through there. The alternate side is though, you guys couldn't use this for an entrance to get something through there. I don't think you really need to though.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, and that'll be. I mean, we're not talking about a huge gate fence, just something a little bigger than the sidewalk, probably. Any questions or comments, any discussion on Marvin Park before we move to the parking area? The good thing is the parking areas have more to discuss, but it's pretty much the same thing on every single area. So we'll kind of skip over the preliminary existing conditions. You guys pretty much know what's there. And let's start with
Let me know where to start.
2.1. So these notes to the side here that I have on there, they're essentially our recommendations or notes on what it is. So for this,
Which lot is that?
This is the movie theater lot.
Okay.
so it's Church Street lot. So this is a good one to really outline most of our issues. The first thing is you don't really have parking stops anywhere. Generally speaking, I would put parking stops in areas where there is either no curb or there is something that they can, potentially move too far into. Some people like to put them in all parking spots because it keeps the edge of pavement protected. It keeps people from being encouraged to drive on lawns and that kind of stuff. You'll see that in some of the other areas, specifically the county and the Park Street lot, where you probably don't need parking stops, but it's up to you guys on whether or not you really need them. The next big thing really is handicap spaces. So under each one of these, based on the number of spaces we have in there, there's a recommended handicap space for them. But since this is public parking, it doesn't really serve any sort of particular building or anything. There's still some gray area on if you really need to actually, maybe you can speak to that a little bit better. No?
I would say they probably would require it, but you guys are issuing building permits, so you can decide whether you want to require it or not.
My only question is, if there's handicap, where would they exit from?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know where
that
you're
road coming in is kind of narrow.
Yeah, and so
It's a private alley on the other side.
And if you were doing a public parking garage, you would need handicap spaces. So I would assume that if this is a public parking area, you would probably still need.
Is that state law?
I think it is.
You said that there's a recommended,
yeah, so for this one, for 18 spots, you'd only be required for one. But it kind of becomes the question of like, okay, if you put it up towards one side or the other, you're gonna have easier access to different things. I mean, maybe you put one on each end, but you've only got 18 parking spots to begin with. So,
there's 4.
What's that?
If you put one,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna lose 4 because you're gonna lose the spot and the spot next to it to come in,
Yeah,
to walk into.
so, I
Put it on
mean,
one of those corners, or that a big enough shaded out area for them to access?
Go up here for a minute.
no, so essentially, when you do a handicap parking spot, it has to be essentially a whole nother spot. There, you can make it like a little bit bigger and have it access to, parking spots, like have 2 next to it, and then you can save a little bit of space that way.
Or the problem with that lot is it's pretty narrow.
Yeah, and so that's why we ended up going with kind of the inward slanting parking spots there. Right now, it's pretty much one way anyway. I believe there's a do not enter sign on the one side from what I've seen. And then so by slanting it, it allows us to get that middle length as as wide as possible. You still, like with people backing out of there, you're gonna want plenty of visual.
I can't see from up there, so I wanted to ask some questions. So this over here is the driveway in?
Yeah, so if you zoom out a little bit, Mayor.
That's perfect. That's your alley.
Are we zoom in or out?
Zoom out.
Not larger? Is that
Smaller.
what you're saying?
Well, I want to see more of the plan. So this is kind of one of the other problems is with a lot of these sites, it's a question of where are we really going to stop this? So here's really where the property line is. So, I mean, you want to keep your improvements on your property typically. But honestly, if you have this whole brand new parking lot with all these parking spots and no real nice way to access it, chances of it actually getting used are pretty low. Right now, I think the only way into that is this alley right here. So you sort of have to know that this parking lot is there and that it's usable to be able to use it.
Who owns that?
So I'm curious about how far these people's property extends and how much of that parking is
So
there.
you could see the property lines right there.
That's the property line.
Yeah, so I mean that,
So how do so we're driving through their property just to get into the parking
Yeah.
lot?
yeah.
Huh.
Isn't that how it always been?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean that we can.
Yeah, so that's where it kind of opens up a can of worms too. Like,
Yeah.
so you can address these people and say, hey, we're gonna improve this. We're gonna, if you guys give us some easements, we'll mill this all. We'll put in a new thing. We'll have access. But then they might go, hey, wait, you've been using my property to access this whole time.
Yeah, and they can park they can park their cars here, or however this goes. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, essentially what we've shown on a lot of these is, our recommendation just for the least kind of headache and the best ease of construction. But you guys know, the town, you guys know the village and the people a little bit better. I mean,
I'm just
Hopefully with the signage, people see that
That lot's
turn
very-
a lot.
You can see the lot from Church Street, but
Yeah.
you can't enter from there.
You gotta go around.
What does GXX mean up there on that circle?
they're just placeholders for notes. So like over here where it says,
So the slot, what's the slotty thing there then?
so those are just spaces that people aren't supposed to be parking. It's just not enough room for a full parking spot, so you line them to say, hey, this isn't a spot, don't park here.
Would, to save the spot and to put our one handicap spot, could we put a handicap at that last one and have that small spot be the part for the handicap to get out?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Wouldn't be enough. It's gotta be a whole spot.
Pretty close.
Okay. Trying to make that.
Yeah, it's tough. We really did go through this as what we would consider our typical and best design. But one of the main problems is even if I was going to show a handicap spot on here, I'm not convinced where the best place to put it is for
That's right.
access.
I was trying to think of just using up one spot.
What's
Yeah,
the proximity
would it be
to
handicapped
other
towards?
lots that you're doing?
There's nothing back there to get to.
Park back there, you're walking somewhere.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean,
think the limiting of
where
handicap is-
proximity to other parking lots,
that-
there's not anywhere near really.
I'm just thinking like you could.
Is that a law that you must have?
Gary was thinking that it might be that.
Yeah.
What?
That it might be the law that we have to have a spot in there. That's why we're talking about it, because.
I was gonna put it somewhere back here.
Closer to the entrance?
Yeah, I was thinking, that's right, Mike, I was thinking up there and use that as part of the,
The walkways to.
The
Lake
thing.
Street or something, I don't know.
So eliminate one of those spots and use that
Maybe.
end space for the.
Yeah, where's the
I,
alley?
but Garrett, you're saying that probably can't be, that's probably not big enough for the,
Yeah, regardless, you
Thing
probably
that's-
have to look at this layout and then just kind of losing 2 spaces.
Maybe like
Yeah.
this spot,
I figured, take that line out, and you would,
like this area here,
Yeah, where's the alleyway located?
right here, straight.
that would not be accessible.
Oh, no.
So and then that kind of brings it too is like, so you can see we showed some improvements up here. So we're gonna, fix the sidewalk. We're gonna do the planting areas and stuff there. You kind of want to do something like that over here because it lets people know that's where they go to park.
What sidewalk is he going to fix?
By the exit.
On Lake Street, you mean?
Church.
Yeah, Church Street on the top right there. Yeah, so you can see where the GXXs are at the top. So the sidewalk is shown kind of darker there. So as part of that, a lot of the existing planters are going to need to be taken out and every that. So rather than trying to protect that sidewalk, it's all pretty banged up anyway. We'll
These
just,
cars will be going across pedestrian traffic, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to have some kind of signage.
Yep, there's signs there. We'll have it at the top. We'll have your typical painting signs and your pedestrians, your do not exits, your all of that good stuff.
Are you putting the planters back in
Yeah.
and make a suggestion and leave them out for the ease of snow removal?
Yeah, I mean, we could potentially look into that. You are looking at,
Say if they can snow out, you're just taking up parking spots anyway.
so, well, the good thing about some of these empty spaces is that it kind of gives you these kind of striped areas with this type of parking. It does give you a place to, put some of the snow. But there are 2 existing trees there. You start ripping up existing trees like that close to it. I mean, maybe it's not a big deal to you guys. Generally, people don't like.
Somebody's gonna be mad at trees.
Yeah.
You'll be happier with that parking spot.
Yeah.
Parking spots around here, that's true.
Build it and they will come.
I mean, ultimately, it's up to you guys. I do recommend a curb of some sort in that area. Otherwise, you kind of allow people to like drive right over that and then drop off the curb. I'm pretty sure there's some restrictions on, you can't just have that whole area open and just slope right to the, I don't know the exact, parts of the code or whatever that would break, but generally it's a problem for some loans.
You drive right out on the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, that's pretty much what we have right now.
Very tight.
No, so one of the things you'll notice with a lot of these plans is your guys' existing parking spaces, the way they are very small. They're like 8 foot by 16 and a half or something like that, which is like way smaller than the recommended size for,
Are we
parking spots.
9?
Now,
9?
these ones are 9 by 19 currently.
That's typical.
It's pretty, so I typically do, I think you can get away with 18 or 18 and a half, but what I found is in these kind of areas, when you've got a lot of snow, people who drive larger trucks, extended truck beds, it's usually better to have that little bit of extra space.
Get a truck out of there.
That's what sign says no trucks parked.
There's no way.
You get that part,
Yeah.
no way to park SUVs and you have to pick up trucks.
I would see that for a car parking.
That area
Yeah.
back there. Ooh.
Traffic committee has a recommendation about rules about that kind of parking.
As wide as we can keep it open, I'd be much happier with it.
Well, that's kind of why we did the slanted parking. Now you're looking at, I think right now it's only got about a 12-foot gap between the spaces. With the new layout, you're looking at 18
Right.
between there. So you
I'm
should,
just looking at it like in the wintertime of plowing it.
oh yeah. I mean, no matter how you do it, plowing is gonna be a nightmare. Like,
So is this the same footprint we have now, or are you going to?
this is
expand it out?
this is the biggest footprint you're allowed without dealing with easements or other people's property.
I was just curious whether this is bigger than what is currently there.
It's kind of hard to say that for sure. Like technically, I would say the one that's there currently is bigger, but it's because it overlaps onto other people's property, and no one really says anything, kind of thing. So, and I mean, and we could flip through and go to some of the other parking lots, but I mean, we'll see that, go ahead and flip to the next one.
You know, they're all got the same theme.
They've all kind of got the same problems. You can go ahead and you can skip this one, so this one actually has the updates for the county lot. This is one that has a unique issue that we kind of talked about. So originally we were really only looking at this part, but there are some improvements slated for this. You guys wanted some new signage and that kind of thing, but not necessarily the whole lot because that's technically the county's. But you won't be able to go through there and put in like new handicap signs and clean up a lot of that on spaces and pavement that's not actually regulated. You know what I mean? So like the 3 parking spots that are out there right now that are labeled handicap are just like normal parking spots with no extra space, not the right size. We can't just put in a new handicap sign and move on.
The county lot.
County lot, what are we doing to the county lot other than the?
Well, that's where I say, that's where I currently have a little bit of a mixed signal there. So maybe there's a chance to set up some discussion with the county, because I believe they're under the impression that there are more improvements for this lot. And so like you could scroll up my original layout before that discussion is that right there. So I mean, really right there's where the county line is. We're only improving that. And even as far as the parking, the charging stations.
Yeah, where's the charging station? Is it on there yet?
Well, no, it's not on there yet. We sent them the drawings and they kind of outlined it. So they're probably looking, yeah.
They had them over here, but that's not even their property.
Yeah, so that's why they were talking about, oh, could you guys cut a couple parking spaces out, and they would try to slide in. And I think generally you guys could sacrifice some parking spaces in this lot. It's pretty underutilized, and you could get those charging stations. But
we did not design, we did not plan on doing improvements to the county lot in our DRI.
That was part of the money we got. We got the county's parking lot money in our funds because we're
In
doing all of our.
addition to 10 million?
No, it's all part of the.
Part of our 600 grand parking money.
Right.
It's part of the requirement for the.
So that's not our parking lot.
Right.
So everything that we think or whatever is really up to the county. I mean, we can say or do, but that's not our lot.
Well, did he just say the back lot's yours?
The back lot is not ours.
We don't want any of it.
No.
The county owns all that lot.
No, they allow us to use it.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's an odd.
that's a degree of complication there.
Yeah, that's very.
I mean, we were talking about the other 3 lots, not that one.
So anything on this lot, we gotta get the county to
Right, that's why it was such a.
approve, basically.
To do over the EV things and.
Right.
Now, we can't say for sure, but it's hard to imagine the county would say to us, oh, we don't want you to use a whole bunch of your DRI money to fix up our lot. I mean, that'll be okay, but that's not our problem.
I mean, the good thing is, you're really just looking at pavement improvements here. I mean, you don't have any major storm issues or anything like that.
They don't even have
But I mean,
pavement
that's.
there, do they? Isn't it gravel?
Oh,
No, it's actually, it's actually a pretty nice lot.
Okay.
so anyways, your proposal is pretty close to what's there now.
Yeah, so I mean, really in all these, all we're doing is restoring the pavement and more formalizing the parking. So this was a good example where I'm saying, like, okay, we've got a lot of edge parking here, but no curb. The question is, do your residents respect that kind of thing? Or do you guys have a problem with people pulling up too much and damaging their property, and you're gonna get lots of letters? Because these property lines right here, so you can kind of see where they go. If somebody is pulling behind, forward on the edge of some of those, they could technically have their front tires on someone's property, specifically like the CVSA property
You got
or over
buildings
here.
and plants all the way around that parking lot.
Yeah, and I think the county, still owns that piece there, I think.
There's fences there and everything.
I've been dying
Better.
recently.
Then when you save that money and fix Parker
There's-
Lane, so you can just park your lane.
So, Jim, this over here next to Sean Fahey's lot, that has curbing and whatever between his and that. This faces, I think, that piece of county property used to have a building. That up there is grass. I'm just saying that in general,
So generally,
these are not a problem place on these. for curbing.
Yeah, that works for me. I mean, like I said, our current layout doesn't show any parking spots, doesn't show any additional curving. Our main objective was just to make sure that you guys didn't know something that we were missing, more or less.
And with those electric charging stations, there's 3 spots worth of equipment they gotta put in.
Yeah, so
And that's the equipment that right now, the plans that they had show it over here, like in the CVS property.
Yeah, so what I kind of verbally recommended to them was the upper right-hand corner here.
Yeah.
If you're gonna lose 2 or 3 spaces,
Yeah.
It would be right there. And then it wouldn't really affect anything the way it is now, and then they'll run those lines probably down and over so that they can at least work an area that's being torn up already.
Peter, Peter.
Yeah.
So you've already surveyed this. I'm trying to picture that little piece up in there being big enough for 2 sets of cars and thing. Is it that deep? I guess it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's 24 feet wide.
This piece up here. This chunk up in there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is 61 feet long.
61 feet from there to there?
Yeah, from like that property line all the way up.
Gotcha.
So I mean, 19 feet for each parking spot, 24 for the space in between. I mean, you've got plenty of room in this area.
So village board friends, we're okay pretty much with their concept of how that's going to go as far as we're concerned, but we're not going to be able to make that final decision. That's pretty much standard, and it's just the trick of where would a couple of handicaps go, or where would the exact.
So here's another thing where, like, if you go to the next one, assuming that the county wants us to pursue and do both sides. So they've got this is a little bit out of date, but there should be 3 parking spots up there. But with this, you technically need 4 more spots as well.
4 more handicaps.
Yeah, so I mean, the county's not, I guess I should be talking to the county about this, but I mean, they're not gonna want half their front lot taken up with 6, handicap spots on the one side. You probably want some on each end. But whether or not, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, is right here better for, access? I mean, no matter what, you have to travel across half the parking lot or more to get somewhere.
Unless you put them right here. I mean, the street's here.
So are we?
Handicaps are already right where your arrow is.
Yeah, but there was only 3 spaces there existing.
So, and you say for this size lot, we need 4 more.
Yeah.
And then whatever we do, they're going to have to go a long ways.
Yeah.
Down here would be a good spot, except they got to go a long ways.
Yeah, and I don't. That's what I mean. I don't necessarily know. I don't know all the exact requirements for ADA parking and all that. I know typically if you put them closer to the structure they're assisting and you make them big enough, you're pretty much covered. But these are some weird areas, and I'll have our guys dig into that in a little bit more detail. But it'd be nice to know if you guys have some preferences, and then we could just check that one requirement instead of kind of poking them around. But
I would think that most of the handicap front should be easily available to the courthouse. That's where you would have handicapped people wanting to get to.
Yeah. So we'll plan on we'll pitch it to them to keep it all in the front end over there and see what they.
Half their lot there with handicap spots.
Well, we'll see what they say, I suppose.
Yeah.
It might not be, might not have much of an option, but. So do you guys have how should I go about this coordination, I suppose? Because I hate to go to them, have them give me a bunch of things, do a bunch of modifications, and then bring them to you guys and have everything be turned on its head. Like, is there a point of contact with you guys and them that I can kind of get everybody together?
Yeah, we should probably set up a meeting between us and them, to be honest.
Do we know who them is?
Yeah, Gary Hammond.
Gary Hammond, okay.
That's the county, like, equivalent of Fred.
Okay.
But are we generally comfortable with, because there isn't a whole lot of detail on the parking in the back there, it's pretty much the same thing that's there now. Are we pretty comfortable with most of what they're proposing there?
So the big question for me still is whether or not you guys are going to pursue anything outside of your property limits, or if you're gonna try to stay strictly within your property limits as much as possible.
I don't know how much of that bees nest you wanna kick over.
Yeah, so like,
On that
yeah,
one,
this,
it's
like,
gonna
this is a good example because,
This is the high lot.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
there's some like weird property lines in this area. I mean, you're looking at doing some work on,
Right. Yeah, the actual village lot part of that is an interestingly small chunk in the middle.
yeah,
And we actually don't own this part, but this is the proposed change with the bank, which we do have a meeting.
That's all gonna change it, right?
So they're open to something there. They wanna have a meeting beginning part of next year to talk about what that might look like.
Mike, you've spoken to him about the possibility of an entrance there?
Ed has,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Because we did a couple years ago, and now we're hoping that they're,
We're arranging schedules with James and the bank guys.
On Main Street.
right here. This is an important spot right here. Don't be putting any parking places in there.
Dig that up and don't even repave it.
That's mine.
Where is it where the OPD is, over the bank there, Rusty?
OPD's here,
Where?
here.
Okay, so then, now does somebody own that lot right there by the wall?
Well, there's somebody you talking about down here?
Yeah.
There is
Old
somebody
TV station.
there is somebody that thinks that they own this much of that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't.
Well, my question, then the chief brought it up, that he thought about if we could have parking there.
He thinks we own this here. And he wants to potentially
There's
park
like
police
3
cars there.
parking lots there, parking spots there?
Right now, the people park at an angle in there. I don't know
Yeah.
how many can go in there, 3 or 4.
3, yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
We do have a set of stairs here.
Well,
yeah.
that was one of my questions, I was asking if we did have that, and we could put stairs in that for parking for OPD.
So we do have the stairs outlined there. We did,
Stairs here?
I did eliminate some of those parking spots by turning the cars, basically straight, so that you can kind of like pull in and park or parallel park and that
Yeah,
kind of
there's only
nature.
like 3 to 4 car parking spots there.
Yeah, and even if they park a little bit cocked, I mean, this entrance, we're already only looking at 4 feet wide, 14 feet wide. So I mean, if they're out into that lane, like even a little bit, I mean, it gets narrow quickly, and we don't want to encourage that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, even right now, we show, so with this changing into an entrance, this is currently an entrance only, but we're looking to flip this, so that all the traffic kind of flows in one direction throughout the whole spot. But again, we're kind of stuck at the same problem where if we start having property issues with this stuff over here, or if that's something, so it's a catch-22. We can either go for it now because it's going to take some time, but if you guys don't pursue it, then we have to kind of cut those areas out, because if we come into issues down the road, it could hold up the whole project. And for example, if we bind this with Marvin Park and try to bid them all out as one package, well, now it's not just one small piece of it getting messed up.
2 pieces here. This over here, if we can get the community bank not community bank, but Chemung Canal Bank to let us have this be an entrance, there will have to be an exit here for their drive-through. So there'll be an exit right here. I know there's no arrow there, but there'll be an exit there also.
Yeah, we're kind of showing that whole area is removed. There's kind of that center area that would be extended. And so we'd have an entrance and then.
The entrance would be here. There'd be an exit here from there.
Yeah, so you can see at the top, that corner piece right there, that whole area would basically be open.
Okay, anyway.
It's paved right now.
This is not a good idea down here to make this one-way going out. That piece behind John's Market by our police station is both directions now. There's not a reason why we would, in my opinion, why we want to make that just exit from that parking lot.
It's only 18 feet wide, so I don't believe you can do 2-way.
We've been doing 2-way for 50 years.
I understand that, and I mean, if you guys want to hack that off as part of the project, I can't force you to do anything different. But if you guys want to kind of pave this whole area and have it all be your one transportation area,
yeah.
I mean.
No, you've just made a proposal that it become one way out, and that's not handy for the village residents in that parking lot.
Well, there isn't much that's handy about these.
Church Street exit.
Exit.
There's an exit.
Yes, there's an exit on Church Street.
Yeah.
I thought that
That's
was
not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
I know what you're talking
not
about.
having this be just going out. This is going in and out now, and there's no reason for us to change that from going in and out.
Yeah, I
Have it
agree.
just
I'm
going
just saying you still have an exit.
Yeah, you could go out here.
On Church Street also.
Well, yes, in fact, this right now
I believe
is saying to have the entrance on Church Street.
I believe that was only an entrance.
That's an
not
exit.
just an entrance only?
No, that's an exit
No,
only.
Exit.
Exit.
That right now is one way going out.
It's one way road.
That's a VFW from what I understand.
They own that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I just looked on the tax map, it says Village of Owego is that.
For this little strip here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if we own it, we can repave it.
anyways, the idea, once again, is
Yeah.
in and out of here, in and out here. That's the play.
Well, I see what James is saying, though, is you've got the parking.
Well, you've got an area right there that's only,
Parking spaces coming in there.
I mean, you've got an area there that's only 14 feet wide. So you're talking about
See
in
the
and out
angle of the
traffic
parking,
coming through
angle of
there.
the parking spaces?
Sure.
If you come in.
If you come in over here,
From there.
Uh-huh.
You're in the wrong direction for the parking spaces.
for that first line, so what you'll do there is if you're gonna do that, and you're gonna park in there, then you'll go around that corner, park in all those.
I mean, I'm not overly worried about the flow of traffic and all that. Those parking spaces can be redrawn in a different direction or straight off. It's, what we've shown is kind of trying to maximize the flow, the flexibility, and the direction of parking. If you guys want it to be a particular way to meet a use, I mean, that can be tweaked, but.
But basically, the width of that entrance exit, both ways right now.
Yep.
Technically is not large enough, it's not wide enough for two-way traffic. So we wouldn't be able to show it as two-way traffic. We're gonna show it either as an entrance or an exit. But in the end, you guys can use it any way you're gonna use it. If you wanna
So
open
when
it
you
back
say,
up to
when
be
you say
two-way-
show it, I'm, what do you mean?
When we put it on our plans.
Yeah.
We're gonna design it to either be an entrance or an exit.
Yeah, like we need
Okay,
to show
but
proper
once-
signage, we need to see.
Once you're
we-
using it, you can use it however you wanna use it.
So do you have restrictions by rule or law that it has to be shown as a
Design
certain
standards.
size, certain width, certain thing?
Yeah, just general traffic design.
General traffic
standards.
design would,
Like it's,
Has to be wider than that is.
Yeah.
I mean, even 14 foot is pushing it for any parking lot for even a single lane, like, I mean, 14 feet, you're not gonna get a good truck through there without, I mean, we could take out these two parking spaces and that could be a little bit bigger, but then you've still got people kind of slanting through there on an angle. I still don't think you're gonna get two vehicles through there. I mean, people see each other coming, they'll wait, they'll figure it out.
I'm not trying to argue with you, but, we've been doing that for 50 years, and it works just fine.
That's how we do it on every other street in the village.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and he said, he hit the nail on the head when he said, my main thing to you guys is I need to let you know what I'm gonna do and why I'm doing it. Ultimately, I'm not gonna come check on you guys to see if your parking is being used correctly.
We can do what we want.
Right.
So a couple things that I wanna clarify. So I am gonna put the handicap parking spots in there. I'm just gonna use my best judgment, I guess, then, on where I think it is. I can write something in for you guys.
In this one here?
For all, so I'm kind of speaking of everything in general. So these were the questions that I needed to answer. The one was the handicap, trying to get some direction on where it needed to be serviced, where it was best. Doesn't seem like any of these places really have a great place to put them. So we'll just put them in there and then let you guys comment on them from there. We're gonna minimize property effects on anyone. We're gonna stop at our property lines regardless. No improvements or signage outside of our property things. We don't wanna try to change the way people are using these things. Unless it's part of the design.
Signage like that.
So like, for example, even if you're parking, you cut off your improvements back here, ideally, so here and there, you would want some sort of sidewalk improvements and signage to say like, hey, you're doing this. We would cut out all of that. So,
I mean, we still need to be able to find the lots. So like that alleyway,
yeah, but isn't there no, I guess they're falling on that to be on part of ours actually.
right?
The sign improvement project.
So I think we still improve the sidewalk and the
But we're gonna try to stay.
parking lot.
So the sidewalk is still technically village property, right? Okay, so as long as we stay on the sidewalk but don't impede, because isn't there like a clearance like for walking spaces? You can't like impede so much on the, part of the problem with being as wide as I am, I don't have quite the depth of knowledge.
I'll just lost my brain. Oh, yes, so part of the reason that we wanted, obviously, the entrance up there on Main Street is we'll make all the signage from people coming both directions, to come, turn on Main Street and then get into the parking lot there. So they turn on Main Street and we got Lake Street going up there, and then we got parking right
Yeah,
over
and
there.
I mean.
So that's gonna be a bunch of signage right there.
Yeah, I mean, if we improve this area right there, I mean, the great part is you're already working with the bank to get all that signed off. We just want to make sure that also once people get into the parking lot, that there's as little confusion about where you're allowed to park and how as possible. Like right now, that's really just a big asphalt pad, like people can park any which way.
And oddly enough, it will be incumbent upon the people that own the private to put signage up that says that that's private. The bank owns behind the bank all the way up to the red line there. They own all that there. That's up to them to put signs there that's theirs.
Yeah, that's why we don't really show anything in between there. We won't be looking to do any of that. But I knew
the red, but that's the.
Yeah, the red is the only area we're really looking to improve, but arguably I probably shouldn't have put this section on this, based on the language I've been using with you guys, but I did because of the stair that you guys requested. Because that whole alley back there, that belongs to the grocery store.
That one up top there going towards the police station may belong to John's Market.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But there's a side one there on the side of his grocery store that you don't have anything on there that's belongs to him in Lounsbury.
Yeah, the thing is, he probably has delivery trucks come in there too, right?
Yeah, that was from what I heard. And in
That's why I'm
general, I
saying
heard that, he doesn't make a big deal out of it. And so if we were to pave that, that's one of our main entrances. So we probably want to improve that. That's what we had discussed in the past. But I just want to make it clear because I've been saying the opposite this whole time. So this would end up getting changed. Like if, we would end up cutting that off right there at the property line and only improving, village property. That's our, yeah. So that's where we kind of are starting to get into this, like, well, where do we really cut off the project? Where do we stop it? How much are we willing to negotiate and talk with our neighbors?
But during an event, people are gonna park wherever there's a spot.
Well, that's for sure. So I don't know what the rules are, but you would think, I hope, with the DRI and the rules, that if someone has given us, and we have some sort of right of way, which we may very well have for that piece behind John's Market, he owns it, but there's a right of way to that high lot. You would hope that we could then use some of that DRI money to pay that.
Oh yeah,
right of way.
If you guys have information on those right of ways or deeds or anything, that would be very helpful. From the scope and everything.
That would be the right thing to do.
Oh, Nate's
Don't
on.
wanna leave something blank.
Well, that's the kind of the thing where I am. So what I've tried to show on a lot of these are what I would consider the right way to do it based on, the information that I was given, but.
If it's not against the
Not
law, we
always
would want to pave that thing all the way to Temple Street.
I mean, the easiest thing to do would just to talk to them quick and see if they're just willing to give you an easement or get something right off and be done. Like, you know what I mean?
We might
And then it
have-
doesn't matter.
We might have something, Nate can check into it.
Yeah.
The same thing with that alleyway getting back into the movie theater. Gary's already said, okay.
That's also privately owned and that should,
I can't see anybody.
Movie theater one?
I know it all costs money and everything, but getting a formal easement of some sort would.
And the same thing there, it'd be nice to kind of improve the sidewalk and put signage there, so you're parking.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to make all this like a nice flowable area and make it really look like you guys did a complete design, as opposed to just like slapping some Band-Aids here and there. You've got this island of a parking lot with like some signage way on the outskirts. So you have to drive through no man's land to get to the oasis.
What's happening on the corner of Main Street with you call it Blueberries?
Yeah.
The antique shop, it's cordoned off, bricks still falling off the building over there?
Off the Tyler Trails building, oh yeah.
What are you doing about that?
They went for a grant to try and fix the building.
It's an eyesore.
And it's still,
It'll be a
it's
headstone.
litigation about who owns it.
Right.
So what?
It's in litigation about who owns it and who's responsible for it.
Really?
George and April don't own downstairs anymore?
That is correct. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, it's in litigation.
The courts.
James? And of course,
Court's taking it.
you guys understand all this stuff. Major problem in that parking lot is the dry well or whatever underneath it where the water goes into the drain, and that just has a giant puddle there constantly. I assume you guys are privy to that? No?
No,
Uh-oh.
that is.
Well, okay, so there's
You guys are looking for extensive drainage improvements in this area? as
Well, just at that particular lot, as soon as there's water, whatever it was, the dry well or whatever underneath that lot, there's immediately a lake in that, any kind of rain in that back parking lot.
I don't know if it's a bad grade, what it is, but
So even if we were to,
So no matter-
it's kind of bowled in a little bit, but even if we were to unbowl it, that
Also,
water has
if
to go
it's
somewhere.
just a grading issue, we'll come across that when we do the final grading design. That's fine. But the problem is, you guys don't really have any existing storm systems or anything. Like, there's nowhere to dump this water.
Not from that lot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, I mean, even if we were to put in a catch basin or something to go somewhere, and I mean, if that dry well is filling up now, the chances of us being able to build something large enough to retain enough water is very unlikely. We'd have to test for infiltration. It's a significantly large, like, I mean, so think about the art park. We have $100,000 for storm design on that. You guys don't have it. So that's kind of
That's going to be a big problem for this.
I mean, so what I don't mind, as part of a lot of the stuff, what I do anyway, is I do a general calculation of how much runoff is gonna flow to the parking lot and, the infiltration rate based on a very broad assumed data that you can get, off of the, US global site.
So, once again, if you folks know the lot and stuff, you know how it bowls down there, halfway up it. If that doesn't do that any longer, there's a tremendous amount of water that comes there. So suppose it was mounted there or something, it has to get out somewhere, and it's the lowest spot. That's really hard to have a place for that to get out of there. Almost impossible.
Yeah, that's the other thing, and that's kind of where I was going with this, is we can't just, if it's just a low spot and it just needs to, be fixed a little bit, we can probably do something like that. But if it's a bowl like you're talking about, we can't just raise that up. All the water's gonna shed off to adjacent properties.
Yeah, and I say
Can't do that.
yeah, where it would go is problematic.
Your basement.
Rusty
Your
volunteers,
I'm not the
he
lowest
volunteers to
I'm
do
not the lowest
something.
spot, but it'd be a mess.
Um,
So that's something that's gonna have to get.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it's something we're looking at for a lot of this stuff, because you guys are in a giant floodplain. But the reason, I guess I don't know, I'm speculating a little bit, is the reason that there isn't a lot of storm design and stuff on here is because when you guys get a lot of water, it almost doesn't matter. Like, everything's gonna flow and get backed up, and, but that's kind of the problem with working on some of these older areas, is it's the same thing we're working on with the utility, the utility area, where they're making us dig all that stuff up and rerun the sewer line and the storm, because it's not separated. As soon as you start doing any work in there, they expect everything to be brought up to the new standards.
So North Avenue has storm drains, and they take the water on North Avenue and they get rid of it. But this bowl, there's not a place or a way to get that water from this parking lot to North Avenue to get out those drains.
Well, if that bowl was filled, it would go there.
State won't let you tie onto their drains anyway, trust me.
Yeah.
I don't mean tie on, I'm
Just getting a place where the water is not to be.
Somehow have it flow and get the water to the north.
Even if your surface,
Won't let you do that.
yeah, even if your surface flowing onto it, they expect an entire hydraulic calculation. So that was the issue I ran into on Lake Street, and I haven't done the calculations, but right now we're hoping, because it's just a couple buildings, we can make a dry well that's gonna be big enough for that. I mean, as an engineer, I don't like to use words like hoping, but, I mean, I haven't done the calculations yet, so I can't say for sure one way or another.
If you happen to be in the area, you want to rent about an inch, go check it out.
I don't know if it's raining that bad if I wanna be out there, just like.
I was waiting for the snow to melt.
Probably Thursday.
Thursday, come on down Thursday.
I'll just
Friday.
set some GoPros and stream it.
Anyway.
Moving right along.
Can we beat these horses to death?
Yeah.
Well, so ultimately what I'm hearing is there aren't a lot of perfect, great answers like I was really hoping for. We will progress with our design and we'll just kind of see where we're headed. Like I said, keep in mind, everything we design and do, most of the time it's because they're the minimum standards, like the 9 foot wide, 18 foot long, the spaces for all that. We don't have a lot of say over that, but we can make the parking lots less efficient if the usage is not quite what we think. I mean, that's what we lean on you guys for saying, oh yeah, people don't really park there, they kind of use it like this. Kind of like how I mistook some of those. I'll have to double check. I could have swore that was an exit only by the VFW, but and the property lines seem to be becoming more and more vague, not clearer like we thought they would. I will write you guys a really long email with all of this stuff on it, and we'll progress the drawings. In the meantime, is there anything I can help you guys with? Anything I can?
So this
I
is
can
the
offer.
Lake Street lot you're showing me?
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Not Lake Street, that's
Court Street, isn't it?
Court Street.
Court Street, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I kept calling it Lake Street too because the
Court.
infrastructure
Behind
part of
it.
it is technically for Lake Street.
Yeah. So this will be with the sewer line here, that's what this shows.
Yeah. And so, I mean, since we're here, we could talk about some of these easements. I mean, really, for what we're hoping is we're going to get some easements. Well, not what we're hoping, what we're going to do. We're going to get easements for all those, but when we dig that up and disconnect it, if those pipes are in good condition, we're not going to dig them up all the way back to the building. There's no reason to do that, but you still need the easement for maintenance, potentially. You know, if it ever gets clogged or something, you're going to want to do that. You're not going to want to have to get owner permission at the time. But you can kind of see here, we sort of drain to this center island in the middle. And that's kind of the area I'm designing that dry well in to absorb it, you know, pending on the hydraulics of the soil and stuff. I mean, ultimately, you're really only looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 6-inch pipes, 6 6-inch pipes.
Make sure it'll contain something in there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this one's relatively straightforward, but again, here's kind of that thing where, so you can see the red line goes all the way out to it, but as of right now, Mayor, can you kind of highlight over the property line? Yeah. We would be adjusting that, and so you're gonna have a line of cut off of like new asphalt, because all the owners, that's kind of their property. I mean, ideally, it would kind of be nice to just fill in all that and just do a nice new surface, but private property.
We're already taking that sewer line from them, I think we're being pretty damn nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of that sewer line, we're gonna have to repave some of that anyway.
Yeah.
Once again, will we legally be, if the owners of those businesses there were okay with us paving it straight across on all those spots, would we be okay with the law and the DRI to do that?
Yeah, as long as you have permission from them, you could extend that into there and do that. Yeah, the problem with like cutting it off and only paving that is your finished product, it looks like a half finished product. So it's kind of that catch-22 that ultimately falls on you guys to decide on who you want to make miserable.
I think a lot of this is contingent upon what asphalt costs in a year.
Well, that too, I don't know how much we can afford.
Yeah.
So we'll keep that in mind when we go back through this. You know, like I said before, I'm gonna really try to keep it as minimal, keep it as economic as possible. It's always easy to add things on if all of a sudden, asphalt's really cheap. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to get your hopes up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can always ask the contractor for an addendum, like, hey, you're out there, it's only gonna cost you that much, can you just throw some asphalt over those areas too? And talk to the landowners at that time.
It's just a basic change order at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Milling and paving is
yeah.
a pretty routine thing.
I mean, you do have some tricky, because these areas are like really small, lots of
Yeah.
tight knit corners, a bit of a pain, so. So I guess I'll write up a brief summary, just so you guys have, just like before, so you kind of have what we talked about, the direction that hunt is gonna go in with these questions that we outlined them, and we'll try to get you some updated plans as soon as we can. I won't promise anything before the new year, but, I'll tell you that my drafters are optimistic there. I finally got a little bit of assistance, and they're balling away at this, so. Thank you guys, call or email any questions.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'm super pumped for that. 10 days off, how long has that been since I had?
All right, so the next thing on the agenda is the street sweeper. So you guys probably all, well, you should have the letter from the county. Brad just told mine.
Yeah,
That outlines, I guess, their offer back to us.
Too many papers are in there. It looks like that.
Yeah, it's like this. They're offering us back our $50,781.99. And they want to know by Friday, December 30th.
This is legit what we're getting, I say sign off on it and get our money back.
Yep.
That's what the letter says.
Is that a motion? Good.
Is that right?
That is, I was thinking.
What are you thinking, Fred?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have any discussion on this motion?
Did we make a motion or was it going to?
We just did, we seconded it.
Yeah, I made it, Charles seconded it.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yep.
Well, this is what we were asking for. If we give us $50,000, we would say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we discussed this to death last meeting.
Get her done. Yeah, sleeping.
That we accept this buyout from the county for this letter for the $50,781.
99 cents.
Right.
And that 99 cents.
There's a discussion, all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and also that is the number, that's the final number, there is no more, there's nothing else that we owe them, okay, I'm just saying.
I mean, the letter says this releases the ability of any future financial obligation,
And past,
as well as limiting the use of the sweeper/vacuum equipment. The village requests the use, a fee will be charged for any further use time. So it doesn't talk about past time. I think we've paid our share of that.
I just want it to be, we're released from any future financial obligation or any previous financial obligation, so they don't find something and say, oh, what you owe us this or any of that kind of stuff. What's that?
That's what it says.
You can see the grant that you previously provided, and releases from any future financial. So it doesn't.
We did not send that $1,800 check last meeting because
Right.
this was all.
That would be, that's the thing that maybe I'm being too picky, that's the thing I'm talking about, any past financial obligation. They wanted $1,800 from us, so they're gonna give us this back, but then do they still want that 18? That's why I didn't read it up for any past financial obligation.
$1,800 was for legality and insurance, right?
Right.
Just trying.
You wanted in perfect writing, you're never gonna.
We did use it somewhat.
We used it a couple
We
times.
used it a couple of times.
But we paid for water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can get up from underneath this now, let's do it. Anytime.
Somebody's seen.
I agree. Because that contract, the original contract, I forgot here, was for 15 years.
I feel if we were we had gonna throw something else in the mix.
So we got a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion about that?
Don't want to talk it to death. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. I want to do it, I want to take it, I just don't want us to have some piece that we still owe them for.
Some unknown expense.
Something, some other thing, they say, oh, you know, but you did owe us for this, and you didn't pay that, and you still owe us for this. Just, that's all I was saying, to protect us. So I just wanted that other piece of language in there.
I would say we fight that when we fight it, but this letter doesn't sound like that's the case.
Okay,
You're done.
I'm done.
Shall we vote? Trustee?
No.
Laura?
No.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. All right, so now we can have the discussion on what's on the agenda. Purchase of a 2009 Century Curved.
Right.
2019, sorry.
My first question is, where do we come up with the extra $65,000? And assuming we get this in a timely manner.
That's a good question. We do have some ARPA money, but I don't know if you want to blow $65,000 on it.
That ARPA money's dwindling away pretty quickly.
I we still got, what you tell me, 100 and some thousand. But...
You mean the additional coming?
No, no more's coming. It's in the bank now. That we haven't spent yet. There's 170,000. Trustee?
So, we need a street sweeper, this may be a very good one to buy, maybe a very good deal. The ARPA problem is a problem, we got $125,000 to come up with for the grant on the police station. We've got 3 cops grants that we're gonna have to pay $100,000 a piece to guys in the next few years. This ARPA money isn't stretching for where we want it to stretch it. So I just don't know if that's the place for the money for this, but I don't know where else it is either.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much is in the reserve account, I guess. Let me tell you. I didn't get the back. I didn't get the back. There you go. We've got reserve for DPW, we've got 141,000 in there.
So you're saying take the 60,000 out of that reserve?
Good. It's an option.
Well, let's say we don't get that 50,000 for 6-7 months. Are we in a situation to take 115,000 out of that reserve, or can we replace it with that 50 when we get it back?
Yeah. Yeah, we could.
I mean, it doesn't give us a lot for a rainy day if we take the 115 out of it.
Right. And I think they want to be done and over with the 50,000. They may just pay us off quick.
Yeah.
And like Rod said, they may want to do it by the end of the year for booking purposes.
That's very true.
Maybe the driver of the day.
And I want that, again, I hope we're lucky like that. But also, the legislature hasn't approved that yet either. This is just an offer, so we have to wait for that to make sure that that's what's gonna happen. So Fred?
Yes, sir.
Tell us one more time about this thing and, this.
It's from Bradco Supply. It's used 2019, has 4,485 miles on it. They're asking 115 for it. It's 14,500 GVW, so we don't have to have a licensed driver to drive it. It's small enough.
You like it?
I love the idea of it, yes.
How much for one of these new?
170, 160, 170.
And this isn't very old or?
19.
Not very old, not very new.
No. Demo. Yep. It's never been owned.
Okay.
Like you said, it's just been a demo.
My question for Nate is, do we have to like bid that out at all, or can we just buy it from these guys?
So like with all purchases, right, if we can cooperatively purchase it through a network, kind of like what we're doing with the ambulance rechassis and refurbishment, right, then you could just buy it. So I didn't hear exactly who you were planning to buy it from. Who was it?
Bradco Supply.
Yeah, so unless they're an authorized vendor under a cooperative purchasing network or off a state contract, then we would otherwise need to competitively bid it.
Even if it's used?
Yep. Your bid specs will say, you know, you are looking for a vehicle that can do these types of things, you know, and what you might put in there is some criteria. You know, you're not going to say only a used one that happens to be only 5 years old. But you would say something like, we would accept or consider bids so long as the vehicle is no more than X years old, whatever's appropriate. Possibly, in a crazy world, somebody might give you a newer one for the same or lower.
I mean, we're gonna have to do what we have to do, time frame. You think we're gonna lose this thing if we don't grab it pretty quick?
Good. That's what I'm thinking. You could.
But once again, if we don't have any choice, we don't have a choice.
So I'll remind everybody, the minimum public bid notice is just 5 days. So, you know, you can publish a bid notice in the newspaper, 5 days later, bid's got to come back. It's not a huge time period that we're potentially talking about. You can have it ready by the next meeting or something.
You can publish the bid the minimum time. Maybe they're going to bid on that, right?
So you don't need 3 bids, Nate?
No, you know, so like tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow, but this week, a bid notice to get put in the paper. Make the bids returnable the 5 p.m. of the day of the next board meeting. We'll see who puts a bid in. Hopefully this company one does.
Nate, are you far away from your thing you're speaking, and we're not hearing you?
Not
here.
Is that better? So I was just saying you could this week publish the bid notice, have the bid returnable the evening of your next board meeting, 5 p.m. Open the bids, award it to if these people bid, but award it to the lowest bidder that evening. Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying we could just delay it on board meeting?
Specs for the bid and everything, you know.
Right. Rusty?
So we're kind of looking that we kind of want to do this. So we've got the questions of, can we afford it? Do we have the money? Where are we getting the money? If we're interested in all that, then we would need to take some action tonight to start this process quickly and try to move it quickly, and hopefully it's still there.
It's still there as of today.
Fred, I don't know if you have any relationship with these people at all.
I've not dealt with them, but I have no problem talking to them, doing whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
And probably by final bid, I can maybe get it at $2,000 cheaper.
I can get the guy to not sell it on you.
Okay.
I just need a verbal what you guys want. I mean, then I have to go forward. If you want it, then I'll tell him, don't get rid of it.
But we are obligated to take the lowest bid if somebody comes in below him.
Yeah, just so you know.
I mean, I don't wanna do this, you know.
No, it's probably even lower.
Maybe you will, but I don't see you getting something lower than what this is.
There might be somebody.
I've looked at everybody around and nobody's got anything.
So that's what's going for.
Nate, but if he's on the state supplier list, you don't have to go with it, correct?
As long as he's selling you the thing that's on the state supplier list, right? So if this thing is on the list of approved, items or vehicles that he could sell, then yeah, he could give it to you or sell it to you for that without needing to go through a bunch of rigmarole. But evident tonight, right, is we don't know that if he is or not. And so you can hedge your bets, right? Go and do the publish the bid notice. If it turns out that he's also on the state supplier list, great. Then we just solicited bids, but you don't have to award. Based on that, you can award a state contract.
Okay.
I mean, Rusty's question, of course, is always the good one. How are you going to pay for it? Because if you're going to do, use a reserve that we need to do a public hearing notice on, or that's subject to a referendum period, then you're going to need to add 30 days potentially after you authorize expenditure from the capital reserve. If you're going to borrow, then we need to figure out how long of a borrowing you're going to do. If it's less than 5 years, then there's no referendum requirement. If it's more than 5 years, it's subject to permissive referendum, and you're not going to be able to award for like 60 days.
Mike, if we spend the ARPA money that we're gonna run out of pretty quick, do we have any limitations on that? Can we just do that? You hear that, Nate? If we wanna spend the ARPA money, we can just do it.
Yep.
Okay.
If we want to use this reserve for DPW, then there are.
Yeah, that's a different story. Then we got to do certain things.
Well, could we use the ARPA money and then, in a month or whatever, try to, pay it back from the reserve?
No, we can't do that. One of the things we can do is, how much do we put in the reserve for the DPW every year? In general, do we put a budget in?
Yeah, not a bunch. So,
Well, the truck's gotta come out of that, right?
Yeah, a bunch of things gotta come out of it, but one of the points I was gonna make is if we spend ARPA money on it and we had some other things we needed to use that ARPA money for, we could not put money into the reserve instead of taking the money out of the reserve. I'm not saying that's what we should do, but we can do that.
I don't think it's that much.
Okay, that's just another option. While they're looking for that, do we want to buy the street sweeper? Do we need to buy the street sweeper? And if we do, then that's what we're going to do, then let's do this. We're pretty clear if that's what we're going to do.
All of the above.
And of course, can't be
What the reserve?
And so we should do it.
Sales zeros.
Better than sharing it. Have our own.
well, what if we do put it out for loan, it was $50,000, we only paid back the 65 over less than 5 years, would that be
an option?
Possible option?
That might be a better plan.
I mean, than trying to finagle some of this, messing with the ARPA money.
Well, look at it this way, we'll have our own street sweeper, and there might become a time where these other places where we were sharing this other one would need a street sweeper because the other one is being used. We can loan it out.
Or broken, because there's a lot of moving parts.
No, don't wanna do that?
No.
Make some extra money?
Nope.
Okay,
No.
will this equipment do more than just
No.
street sweeping?
Nope. This is strictly a street sweeper.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I am going to recommend, which I'm not making a motion yet, that we put this out to bid. We set up the bid package, whatever we have to do. Because once we do that, we have taken the first step to try and move this along in the fastest time frame we can. And then if X, Y, and Z happens, we don't have to do it. But we've moved it along to that spot. And if we don't do that, we're not gonna be able to do it at all. So to move it along, I'm gonna recommend that we're going to do that. We're gonna set that up to bid with all the particulars. Does that sound like, without this making a motion, does that sound like the consensus of the board? Yep.
So just so we're clear, I can tell him tomorrow that we want it.
Well,
With,
there's gonna be a process.
I understand that, but I'm just saying.
We're interested.
Put it on.
Yeah.
We're interested, yes.
Yeah, because we're constrained by the law and the rules on the bidding
I
process.
can bullshit that.
But you know,
Yeah.
No,
nothing wrong with that.
From what, sounds like from what Nate is saying is, we put this out to bid and give other people 5 days to give us a bid. We should be able to make a decision on this by our next board meeting, right?
Yeah, the only question is, if we're gonna use that reserve for the 60,000, or if we're gonna borrow money, there's different timelines there. Because we gotta have a public hearing and all.
We're probably not gonna use the reserve or borrow the money, we're probably gonna use the ARPA money. and
Try
try
to just use the ARPA money, then we just buy it.
That's probably what we're gonna do.
So, okay, we use the ARPA, we get this 50,000 back, and we just put that back into our budget, or does it have to go to specific line items?
Yeah, no, it can go, I guess, forever, right?
I mean, just begging for some of these things that aren't up and coming.
We're planning to put that 50,000 in one way directly towards this, and then another 60 or so from ARPA money.
Right.
And if we have to use the ARPA money, then we get the check from the county, we can put that in when we want, anyway.
We'll just go back into.
It goes back into our areas and reserves. So kids, what we want to do? So there's going, I make a motion that we put out, but I don't know how to say this exactly right, Rodney, so I'm gonna blather for a minute.
Publish a.
Publish
bid package.
Bid package
Request for bid.
for a street sweeper and the details to be put together by the clerk and mayor and DPW superintendent.
Well, I second that.
When are we doing the bids returnable? So do you want them on I was just thinking the next board meeting night, which I think is January 2nd.
Yeah, so it's January 2nd, Monday, you said, somebody said 5 PM to have them come in.
Is it
Monday.
But the second is the federal holiday.
Federal holiday after the first.
It's probably gonna be the third.
So, yeah, our meeting will be Tuesday the 3rd.
We can have it as the Monday.
Well,
That's gonna be a federal holiday for you.
I don't know if that's January.
Wow, that's absurd.
So returnable at the next village board meeting, the night of the next village board meeting, whatever day that is. And then I would just, Rod, time the village office closes, do it like half an hour before the clerk's office closes, because we don't want to set a time after everybody's gone.
So third Tuesday.
Tuesday the 3rd.
Yeah.
Returnable by 5 PM Tuesday the 3rd.
Is there somebody here until 5?
It'll be here by 5.
Nobody.
By 5, by
Somebody
4:30, whatever you want.
Noon?
Did you hear all that? We want to return by noon on January 3rd.
Yes.
You would just say a little bit about the specs maybe.
I'm not going to mention the specs in the motion, that was to be determined by the principals.
Do you want to read it? All right, did somebody second that? Yeah, Charles. Shall we vote on that motion? This is just a published RFP, returnable by noon on January 5th. Well, whatever.
Bids, not RFP.
Solicitation.
Bid solicitation.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles? Yes. And yes. All right, move forward on that. Let's do department head reports.
Yes.
Let's get that out.
Claim it out.
That's good. Let's go, next one.
You guys have my report there, just to hurry up the meeting. Ron, you know if, the state grant got put in for Sonia that we talked about last meeting? It was the $1,500 of COVID money?
There's one separate for healthcare workers.
Yes. Yeah, I brought it up at the end of the last meeting.
Don't think it's in here. Somebody got it too.
Okay, can you check on that?
We can check on that.
Okay, is the, employment committee available mid to late morning Thursday? Morning? What time?
Anytime before noon.
Okay. Fran, are you available? I meant to ask you guys before the meeting, but I forgot.
Thursday, this coming Thursday,
Yes,
22nd?
yes,
Yeah, I'm available.
okay. I'll get down the time and it's a virtual interview. The guy lives in Rochester, moving to Binghamton.
Send me an email.
Okay. The other order of business is the resolution to, re-chassis the 2 ambulances.
I did have a question about the resolution. It seems to be $100,000 more than last.
Well, I apologize, Nate, but there is a, I'm not sure how it was added up, but the maximum that I wrote down there is here. I actually changed his 375 in red.
Okay.
So it is 375. It's not,
Okay.
it's not, the 480, whatever.
Ron, just so you're aware, the way I got the number, Paul, you had sent me, I think, 4 PDFs, which looked like a base price, and then it looked like other stuff. So I just added those numbers all up. But I'm going to trust Paul and his numbers over what I was trying to put together.
All right, so you guys got that motion on the agenda. The only change to it is that 489, 813 goes to 375,000 even.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
So I would like to know where we stand with money, how much money do we have in the accounts, how much money do we have reserved for from the EMS? I'd like to know all that stuff.
Always a good question.
Right now, we've got about 300,000.
Yep, right now there is.
This won't happen for about a year. We've just got to get the deposit down now.
Right now there's $343,788 in their savings account.
It's gonna happen in a year from now.
Yeah, how I calculated it, it was approximately,
I'm sorry, can I ask a bad question?
it was currently 91% funded out of that account that the mayor was speaking about.
And there is $10,000 in their capital reserve account.
So the savings account is money that we're ahead over the last year or 2 years or whatever.
Right.
That's not part of this year's budget or operating money. That's money that we put away. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's correct.
So, we were talking about putting 10% down on this?
It's 10% down, yes. It's 10% down, so that's, 37,000, so that would come out of there. And I would imagine the ambulances wouldn't go for re-chassis probably for at least August of next year. So we're gonna have all that additional income between now and August, and then it's gonna take 6 months or so for them to complete it. And you'll have that additional income. So I do not have any qualms about obtaining that extra 9% of the monies that we're gonna need in the next year.
We are doing both these at the same time.
I'm sorry?
Both of them are being recessed at the same time.
It's a little unclear. It depends on when the chassis are due to schedule in, when the loaners that are built into this are available. They can start the work approximately 1 month to a month and a half before the chassis come in, but it all depends on what their work cycle is.
That's one of my big concerns. The last time with the loaner, it took a long time to get it, then it broke down a lot.
Yeah.
If we're down two, that's gonna really screw us up if they do that again.
Right, and I relayed that concern to Jeff, and he understands that concern, and we'll be better off this time than we will next. So there's gonna be some overlap. They can either go both at the same time, an overlap of 1 month, and then we wait a couple months, and then the other one goes. So it's a little bit in flux
I
on time
personally
frame.
would feel a lot more comfortable if it was slightly staggered,
Okay,
but.
and I can pass that along too.
About how long did it take before to re-chassis something?
I think it was 7 months for 31.
Okay. Would that be typical? I could think that.
That would be typical.
There's no
And
longer.
over that period of time, we have a loaner from them.
They currently have loaners, and as they get other vehicles re-chassis, they bring that loaner back, service it, and then
So
send it
my
out.
question
to
is
the
about the re-chassis. I know for a while that was hard to get new vehicles.
Oh, yes. Let's see, this is 22, so the 23 chassis are already spoken for, and they've ordered 20 of the 24 chassis. And that's what we would be earmarked for, is 24 in the fall of 23.
I assume these would be gasoline as well?
Yes, they are gasoline, E450s, the same as 31 is. Yep.
Well, I'm looking at this, resolution here, Paul, and it doesn't say anything here about the 10%, does it? I mean, don't we want,
It doesn't say anything about the 10%.
I mean, don't we want to be voting on that at the moment also? Can we put out the 10%?
Frank, to your question, right? How Paul intends on actually funding it at the time the money comes due doesn't matter for your purposes, right? Because what you're doing is authorizing a purchase at the full price, and you are going to be needing to appropriate monies to pay for that. If the EMS department doesn't have the money at the time that the vehicles are due, the village will still have to come up with the money, and it's going to have to come out of your general fund if you don't otherwise have some other financing plan for it. So, I have every reason to think that the EMS department is going to have, monies next year to cover, reimburse the general fund for the cost. But you by authorizing this tonight are authorizing the full purchase price out of your general fund monies.
Does this say that out of the general fund?
No.
Well, and I apologize. I should pull up the resolution language, but you're going to be paying for it out of, either the EMS department budget line item or the general fund. Rod, at the time when the vehicle needs to be paid for, is going to have to come up with the money from one of those two places.
So does this have any glitches like we had before about money coming out and being able to spend that money and bids and rules? Are there glitches in this?
No, it's not a reserve, it's just.
I understand that it's not a reserve, thank you.
Other
But
than,
I want to know if there's any glitches.
just something to be known, we're gonna wipe out that savings account that's been built up for EMS. So.
Well, we've got another year before we actually put out money other than 10%.
Yeah. And actually, it'll be more than a year.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
at that rate, there's gonna be at least another 150,000 in that account.
You just wanna get
We've
the
got
ball.
the money, it's no problem.
I wanna get the ball rolling, so we're not pushing out
We gotta reserve
ambulances
those
for
engines.
another year.
So, once again, I have the same concern, you've kind of helped me a little bit talking about it, but I have that same concern with VCI about loaners. I was not real pleased with how that all went last time. Shape of the loaner, length of time it took to get it, et cetera, et cetera. You told me that they said they'll do better.
Yep, I spoke, after you and I spoke, we spoke, and he understands your concerns, and, I mean,
It's gotta be better.
it will be better.
Getting those ambulances is how we pay, man.
Right, right.
So no glitches, Nate? No glitches with the money?
No, I mean, I think, and Paul, I appreciate the background information, you put together on the piggybacking, contract that resolves the procurement piece of it. And then, the funding of it, I think as he's mentioned, a lot of the vast majority of the money is already on hand, and you anticipate adequate monies in the future. Rod will just, from his treasurer's hat, right, have to mark that money as appropriated and reserved for this specific purchase.
Well, and what we're gonna vote on tonight, we're gonna vote on the, package, and then another time vote on the 10%, or? I mean,
Whoever gets the ball going.
I mean,
I don't think we need to vote on that, we're just gonna pay them the 10% when they want 10%.
That'll be part of the contract.
375, right?
Yeah.
How we
Yeah.
pay it
We're gonna
out
approve
is.
the package, and when they wanna get paid, we pay them out, pieces of time.
yeah, well, he needs the 10% now to reserve those engines.
Right,
That's-
We're releasing
that's all.
375,000.
So it comes down to
Okay, all right,
The last piece of the motion is the mayor of the village is authorized and directed to sign all necessary documents related to the foregoing, which would be all the details.
okay, well, I would resolve that, we, go ahead with, reserving for the re-chassis, for the 2 ambulances, out of the funds that, we currently have for the EMS.
so it's written, so it shall be done.
Yeah, we need a second.
Sure.
Are you saying that?
Yeah.
If I can jump in, Fran, the motion as you just recited is different than the language that we'd prepared.
Okay,
So if you want to authorize what we've put together, I would say just a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
oh, okay, all right. Motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
And that I second.
With the change from the 489, 813 to the 375, right?
Correct, yeah.
And that second also.
Because that is the one.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Shall we vote? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes,
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
Thank you, folks.
Jim, we're all out of money now.
No.
spent all our money on equipment.
I'm here for the motion for the land, for one thing, and I did want to mention, had a pump at, Galloping Pump Station fail. I'm in the process of getting bids. I was hoping I would have 3, even though I didn't get them on the agenda, but I'm still 1 short, so I definitely will have that prepared for next meeting. Because it's a dual pump station, we're down to 1 pump. Not a good situation to be in. The other thing, the snow and ice guards at 90 Temple, the guy's gonna be here tomorrow to drop off some more materials and to do some stuff, some prep work or something, and get a lift lined up and stuff from a local vendor. So I know I've been saying he's been coming, well, I've been,
He's coming tomorrow.
that's what he told me at 2 o'clock today, so.
Okay. Good, because they asked me today about it.
So. Other than that, I don't have anything.
So on the agenda, we do have a resolution to approve a land purchase. This is for the 1 acre of land in front of the sewer plant. To help make our driveway more accessible to tractor trailers.
We need the dollar amount of this motion.
Maybe, probably. Oh, it's in the contract.
It's in the contract.
Okay.
You can say what we're not. Trustee?
I wanted to ask a couple quick questions, make sure I got it right. Seller costs, buyer agrees to pay sellers reasonable expenses incurred in connection with this. Are they paying for their attorney's fees? Okay. We don't know what those are, but, okay. And
That'd be a lot.
I'm looking at the contract and it mentions parcel A, it mentions parcel B, parcel A, but, I don't see anything here that shows that. This doesn't tell me what parcel A and parcel B are, I don't think. No, this is for the sewer plant, no blood.
Rusty, the parcel A and parcel B are shown on the survey. So parcel A, as I recall, parcel A is the property to the west of the current access road. Parcel B is to the east.
The east of it.
Of the access road, right?
Okay.
Parcel B, the one we have to put the natural barrier up.
Correct.
I don't have that here, but it's okay. Okay.
The last page, just the rating.
Oh, that doesn't tell it. It just tells about the trees. Okay. So Tracy, you read this 57 times, and we've talked about the trees and this and that.
Mhm.
Is there anything else in here that is problematic for you?
No.
It says, okay, it says that can't build anything within 30 feet of the south side drive, which isn't very far. We don't have thoughts and plans of that. It says we can't build anything on parcel B, the part where we're gonna have the trucks turn around without seller's permission. This end, and it's, but if we can build something on parcel A, because it doesn't say in here, we can't do that, which is something we need to have. That's good in here. Was there another thing? Are we okay on the part about, how they want us to fix up across the street where we did the dumping before?
Absolutely.
It seemed like it was a little vague here, but they want that driveway-ish stuff taken out and there's grass there. We're still gonna have the concrete and the manhole cover for clean out. Are we gonna be able to keep a little piece of driveway there so our trucks won't go down to that?
That's the way I read it.
Yeah,
It says that if, on a gate, if a gate's required, then they needed a gate.
And then,
He said he read it 57 times, so he said it's okay, it's okay. You just mentioned that he read it 57 times, but if you keep going over each one and everything, it's redundant now. Let's just move it forward. Just saying.
I'm sorry that I'm.
No, I'm just
We haven't-
saying, you just asking the question, he answered, but you're going over each line again. You just
I'm
contradicting
going over,
yourself.
I read the contract, I'm going over the questions I have with it.
I'm sorry if I'm wasting your time.
No, it's not a waste of time, it's a big waste of time.
Okay,
That's just my opinion.
so I guess I'm gonna waste your time for just another minute. Portion 6 says all septic receiving activities taking place at buyers' facilities on the location of Southside Drive are permanently will cease. All septic receiving structures thereafter are to be removed, including gravel, concrete, and asphalt driveways, and the affected areas restored. The remaining subterranean sewer pipe and concrete cleanout pit with a manhole are the only structures to remain. So the question I asked was whether we could still have a piece of the driveway so our trucks won't come in there in mud and crap. That was my question, and this would appear to say that we cannot. We have to remove all concrete and driveways. That was,
What's it go on to say?
Cleanup and the only structures remain and may require periodic clean out via truck access driveway. So that's interesting, so.
So it says we can leave the driveway. It contradicts it
Yeah, okay, no, I
in the
did-
statement, but
sorry,
it says,
okay.
but it says we can leave the driveway.
Okay, sounds
Is
good.
the way I read it, I'm
Sounds
leaving
good.
the driveway.
Sounds good. I move we approve the contract for, as written.
You have a question?
So for the driveway, my recollection of it is they did not want an asphalt driveway. They were okay with some sort of a gravel, dirt, but they did not want asphalt. Which is why it talks about removing the asphalt driveway.
Whose asshole is that?
All right, any other discussion about? We have a motion to approve and second. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. All right, anything else?
That's it for me.
Good. All right. Jimmy?
Gave you a copy of the chief's report, it's year-to-date call list. Copy that, I have 2 new members. I would like to approve, please, Hannah Kelly and Justin Smith.
Jimmy, I've got a thing for Justin, but I don't have it for him. I think I know.
Yeah, you. Hannah Kelly lives in Appalachian. She is a teacher at the Owego Appalachian School District. Her father is a member. She has expressed interest to be a part of our ESS, Emergency Support Services, and joining company number 4s. Justin Smith lives on Fox Street and is interested in being a driver and joining company number 4s.
The company too, Kurt?
Justin, yes.
Yeah, interrupt you when you're ready.
Sure, go right.
Move that we accept Justin Smith as a member of company 2 in the Owego Fire Department.
Second.
Any discussion? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles? Yes. And yes.
Move we accept Hannah Kelly as a member of company 4s in the Owego Fire Department.
Second.
Any discussion? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
Yes, that's right. Back to you, Jim.
Russ, did you get a chance to go through 600 pages?
I did. I read 600 pages.
What'd you think?
You don't want to know. There's lots of things, when I read these things, there's lots of things that hit me, and I'm making a list of the things that do, and I'll talk to you about, and I'll make my recommendation of what.
Okay. So next meeting?
I'll try. I read 600 pages since the last one.
Only thing I have on the agenda, fire-wise, is a town of Owego fire contract update. I don't think there's any update besides, we need to get with them to finish the fire portion of that.
I gave them everything they needed. They just gotta sign the contract and give us the money, I guess.
So I'll reach out to them.
So does that include the EMS?
No, so we talked about not having a contract for EMS because it works out better.
Okay.
But we do need a contract for fire.
Right.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Mike, did they finally, be pleased with the, information they wanted from us from 2 years ago for calls and things from EMS and from the fire? Do they have that, or are they pleased with that, or is that okay?
That's what I gotta find out, I guess.
I provided them both.
So they should have it all.
Yeah. So I'll call them and see. Anything else for fire?
Yeah, I was hoping I could spend some of your COVID money.
Everything left now.
So 2 months ago, we did a training on the new battery-operated rescue system equipment. It's Jaws of life, basically. It cut our time almost in half. Our Jaws that we currently have now are hydraulic operated. Our hydraulic pump on our truck is getting tired, along with the equipment. And it's really a thing of the past. The new battery operated stuff is quite amazing. Yeah. So with the new tools, it comes to $40,200. Does come with a lifetime warranty that does exclude the batteries and any damage we would cause. Like if we threw it off a building and it fell apart, right? That's not warranty. But the guy said, things break, he comes and fixes it right on site. So.
What's the battery cost?
Battery, it's just a Milwaukee battery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep, which we have Milwaukee batteries already, so they're interchangeable, which is great. So.
What is the, say it cuts time in half, what is the time currently? I'm just curious what.
By the time depends on the situation, by the time you pull the hoses out of the truck, start the generator, get everything hooked up.
Just pull this thing out, it's ready to rock and roll.
Right, my question is it 20 minutes, no, it's 10, is it 6?
Well, it depends on the.
It all depends on the situation, but we cut a car up the other day, and we cut it up, and we were done in less than 20 minutes. It sliced through this car like a least water. But of course, it's a very good tool as well. So.
I was only commenting because I actually operated the regular version and versus the Sawzall. I know the time in between the two, and this electric thing.
Oh, yeah, but I never used one, so I needed a reference time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other good thing. Yeah,
100 feet off the road.
Portable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get closer to, up close and personal.
So it's cutters, it's spreaders, it's RAM, and a multi-tool, so it's just not one tool, there's 4 different pieces of it.
You lose a piece of that warranty? You lose a piece of that warranty?
Nobody did lose anything.
So this would be something.
The way the cars are just being built these days.
What's your question? Do we have to bid this out like we did the?
I don't think so, it's equipment.
Yeah.
I would assume that they are, I can double check, but I can assume that first out is gotta be on source well.
Those are shared.
Yeah. They're, and this company's not I don't want that so well.
So something we gotta check out is make sure it's state bid. It's a state bid.
Sorry, I should ask that question, I know better.
If not, we may have to bid it out like we did it up.
Or if they're Sourcewell or HGBC.
Right.
But they're the only ones that sell this. They're the only rep in this area.
I mean, I would imagine they are being the fire department stuff, but.
Super. Yeah, the fire department stuff's a lot different. I can double check, but.
Technology, right?
I'll have to check.
Okay. So we'll add it to the agenda for the third.
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Rusty.
is that, Jimmy, is that something that we have any grant possibility for?
Sure, there's a possibility for any grants.
Okay, then.
Whether we get them or not is a different story, but, there is no current grants out there that I know of as of right now, no. Otherwise, we'd be applying for.
So how are we doing with our fire department budget for, this is another.
Our budget's doing all right.
I'm just saying, it's another $50,000 thing, so I'm just wondering how we're set for money to buy that.
Well, that's why I was asking you to use your code. I wasn't asking you to use my budget.
No.
My budget money's already set for my budget, right? But I'm doing very good with that budget.
Shouldn't we have our new grant writer look into
Get money back in.
finding a grant for this?
We can try.
Yeah,
Like you said, I don't know if there's any grants out there currently. Something to look at.
well, that's what our grant writer's for, us to find out.
Something to look at.
Our grant writer.
It spreads a different way.
Our grant writer.
I know.
Yeah.
Anything else? Fire department wise?
Unless you got any updates on the building. Don't even want to ask.
Our update is moving along slowly.
Should have asked James when he was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just the roof, I mean, what are we gonna do to stop the water?
They suggested something just that we do temporarily. They didn't have any idea what.
Pallet of Flex Seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the commercial, that stuff looks great.
Yeah, the commercial. You climbing up there to put it on?
I've been up there once, I'm not going back.
That ladder sucks. Yes, it does. Always sucks.
I did not like looking down the stairs as I was climbing up.
No.
I don't like heights, so I'm not going up there.
Nope.
Like I didn't see the guy under me.
Well, yeah, they didn't really have any good recommendations on how to temporarily fix it.
Oh, flashing or something over it, I mean, I don't.
It's coming from so many different areas.
Well,
But the other problem we gotta talk about is that rebar coming through that floor in the basement. It's more
Patchy,
than,
won't even see it.
it's more than a water leak.
So the question is that floor stable enough for
I don't know.
50,000-pound vehicles?
You can probably find Paul 2 new ambulances and they'll be in the basement. We can get those. I don't know.
That's not even talking your office when it rains.
That's it's the liability the village is willing to take. It is a liability.
Okay, I mean, not that we're willing to take it.
I've always been told that the water that goes into your office comes from the seam, from the concrete pad. Yeah, okay. That's why we were never allowed to wash anything in there, because the water would go down right next to the garage door.
There was water inside the other day when it snowed. On the first one. And I know that nothing was out that door. That's where the bread truck sits, so where that water's coming in, I have no idea.
Is that where they stopped the Kubota after using it for plowing?
Something was up.
The water.
I don't really have much going on other than, We were up all night Thursday and Friday plowing snow. We finally got all the wood chips out of here. This spring, I'll probably regrade the parking lot. And the fairgrounds, we chipped and cut down a lot of trees over the canopy for the playground area and trees around Marvin Park. And as soon as the track is a little better, we got on track and cut those trees also. Shut up.
Do we have anything for Freddie?
Well, just a reminder, Fred, the cemetery is supposed to be closed off January and February.
It's closed now. Just because of liability of somebody going up in there
Not
with
paving,
snow.
right, or not plowing, yes.
Correct. We
Well,
closed at the beginning of the week.
Yeah, with the snow and ice.
Yes.
Let's see on the agenda, which I don't know anything about. We have a discussion on repealing chapter 98 of the village code.
What is that about?
Yeah.
Did you put that in there?
Yeah. Right there.
Because the code said they did not, Fred said that he did not.
What'd I do?
Put the chapter 98.
I know
You did
nothing
not.
about no chapter 98.
Who the heck put that on our agenda?
So I had asked that this be added to the agenda, and actually, I guess I noticed the last meeting, right? We talked about the uniform code update. We need to schedule a public hearing for that if we haven't already. But so this is related to the uniform code update. So in the uniform code update, we've added language that addresses the unsafe structure procedure for the village. So there's no need for a separate standalone unsafe structure. It's going to be right in your building code administration local law instead of outside of it.
So we're not getting rid of this.
Correct. We are keeping an unsafe structure proceeding. It is going to be inside of your building code law, which is to me a logical place to put it.
I saw code today, they were pretty surprised this was being repealed.
Yeah, I didn't connect with them when they called me. Didn't have a chance to call them back, but Cindy had emailed me and I followed up with her and explained that. And I assume, I mean, to me, you want to keep it, you can, but then I'll need to change the uniform code administration law slightly. And then I would also want to change your unsafe building law anyway, because we've been doing a bunch recently with many other clients that I think being more clear in your unsafe structure law is very helpful.
So this would streamline the process.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of due process that is involved, and eventually, we end up. My strong recommendation is that we always require going to court to get an order. But I can tell you, in the 3 that I've done in the past 6 months with other clients, judges, if a structure is unsafe, judges don't fool around. They will fairly quickly order the property owner to tear it down or give you permission as the municipality to go in and tear it down yourself.
Mr. Mayor, can we look at this next week?
Yeah, Nate, is there any rush on this?
Nope, no rush.
Okay. So we'll put that off till next meeting. All right, next thing, budget transfers. You guys see a huge list of them there. This is a result of my question to Cindy about the treasurer's reports.
Where am I going then?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Move that we transfer the first budget item on the transfer list of the $17,000 as written.
I mean, if you want, Nate could tell us, but I think we could do them all at once if you want.
I was gonna do the second one all together. I think it just for different motions, so that's why I was doing that one.
Do one at a time.
Okay, so you're doing the first one.
First motion, 17,000. That's written.
I second.
Okay. Any questions about it?
When are they putting those up?
That's what Tracy just said.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, maybe.
Okay.
We'll start to anyway.
It's supposed to snow Thursday.
Well, it's actually all rain now. Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
Mr. Mayor, move that we transfer the budget items totaling $71,111.37 as written on the motion.
I second.
Any discussion about that? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
And finally, move that we transfer $20,000 at the last bullet point of the item for employee salary public works.
I second.
As written.
I second.
Okay, any discussion on that one?
That
Rusty?
was being transferred from where?
From line item blah, 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 to line item blah, 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 to cover new employee salary in the Department of Public Works.
It's coming out of the overage and insurance line.
Okay. Thank you.
Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. All right, next thing is property exchange applied technologies, Mrs. Stever House.
I thought that had happened already.
Yes, so did I.
Yeah.
What, oh, what's hang on?
Nothing, it's ready to go.
I thought we already did all this.
Yeah, I thought it happened.
We couldn't find a motion in our.
So Nate, this is gonna take care of what we need to do for the applied technology trade.
Correct, yep. So just as a regular generic status update and a reminder, so however long ago it was, the hose team wanted, we needed to negotiate an agreement with the hose team about use of that property, and we wanted to see more specifically what they were doing, and if you didn't want what the hose team was offering, then you had no reason to do a land swap. And so the resolution we saw in the minutes authorized an MOU for everything. The MOU contemplated a contract being drawn up, and that's what happened. And so now this is the final resolution to, I'll say, close the loop there.
Okay.
But everything is basically teed up and ready to go.
Move that we approve the contract for the land swap as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. Here, next thing I don't think is really a motion, but I have to make an appointment of Joey Shumway as deputy clerk / treasurer for the remainder of the current fiscal year. And that's just because she's helping Cindy and Kim out.
You don't know.
Yeah. Because that's normally in our annual meeting. Treasurer's report. Oh, I'm missing Rusty. This is accepting the treasurer's report. Now, this current treasurer's report does not have all those transfers in it that we just did. So our numbers look better than what's shown there.
New way of telling our answers, right?
Right. I knew there was something somewhere.
Move to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes.
How
you vote on treasurer's report?
Yes.
Now, the minutes?
I motion we approve the minutes for the last meeting as presented.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? Rusty?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Fran?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
And yes. All right, now the trustee reports. Rusty?
No report.
Laura?
The OHPC submitted a long report, and they emailed it to some people, but it might have not gotten to the whole board. So I'll forward that along, and then I'll just ask that it be included in the meeting minutes that we so that way everybody can read it. It went over everything that happened for the year, all the approvals, of everything, and then just the status of every project, where it stands, and then like, just updates of everything that they did. And it's like on 2 pages of paper, not bad. So I'll send that along, and then their next meeting, they don't have anything on the agenda, so we'll see if that happens, but that would be the first Thursday of the month. And then, so the Climate Smart Communities Task Force is gonna meet January 23rd, it's a Monday, at 10 a.m. In the Hubbard Auditorium. So that'll be our first meeting. And then that'll be something that happens monthly at that same place. And that's it. Oh, wait, we're gonna find out
Yeah, the 22nd.
on the 22nd or the 21st, we got the latest grant we submitted for the Wastewater Resources Institute. So we're like, that's upcoming.
Right now, December.
Yeah.
So by Thursday.
Yeah, we're gonna find out really soon. So cross your fingers.
All right. Good. Brown, good report. Fran?
There was a letter that Peter Gordon sent to the bank for the grant monies that we got for the windows for the chapel. Rusty, I didn't make a copy for you, I'm sorry. But it shows that, the details of everything that was done, and I would like to submit that for the record for that, has truly been thanked.
All right.
Other than that, I'm all set.
Charles?
I was going to make a motion for the board to purchase a affordable bicycle rack for the Joshua House. But I just recently found out that we have one lying around. So he's gonna transfer that over to the Joshua House. It's stemming from burglary and a theft that happened there. And I believe that Deborah Smith, who operates the Joshua House, she has done so much for the youth of our community that the least we can do is try to help for her to have a safe environment for the youth to come ride their bikes and chain it up and it won't get stolen. So, along with that, I'd like to also thank OPD and Officer Winchell for their quick apprehension of the suspect who actually stole my son's bike while he was there at Joshua House as a getaway vehicle to steal surveillance equipment while it was in use. Sounds like an episode of Dumb Criminals. I'm not making this up, that's what happened.
Then record you while you're doing it.
While you're doing it. I mean, the officers actually tripped over the bike coming down the stairs to apprehend him, and they thought it was the burglar bike that turned out to be my son's bike. All the dots connected, and I thank Deborah Smith for her thinking about, well, actually, she saw my post on Facebook, and we put all the dots connected, and I called up the Officer Winchell, and we got the bike back. Spending another $400 on another bike. No, well, for the one that,
To put one back there.
well, I kind of promised that I was gonna go through the motions to find out, but I was gonna make a motion for us to purchase one, but we don't have to purchase it now because Fred has one, he's gonna put it there. We do have bicycle racks that are there in that vicinity, that are on North Avenue. You see them
No,
there.
I like the idea of having one back there.
Back there, yeah, so that they could
where the
right
kids
there,
are
so
at.
they don't have to bring them inside. 'Cause,
Yeah, like when I got the Jersey barrier for the skate park, he just, hey, can I do that? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
So is this so there's stuff that, like, we can install stuff on village property, on our sidewalks and stuff like that, but that's like in
It's actually in the back, in the parking lot, it's right behind where their entrance to Joshua House is, it's off the street.
Who owns the property?
That would be Deborah Smith.
So her point is it's private property.
Well, yeah.
We can legally install it there?
No, it won't be, it's just a bicycle, actually.
Oh, is it just a big metal one?
I have, yeah, you can pass that. We don't have the purchase, I just did research to find out how much they cost.
Oh, I got you. It's not the ones that go on the ground.
No, they just have to just dump it there. He's
Gotcha.
got it, he's just gotta pick it up and put it there, it just got buried in the snow.
I was thinking, to her point, why don't we just store that bike rack, which has to be stored somewhere?
Right.
Why don't we store it in that alley?
Yeah.
We won't be giving it to anybody, we won't be putting it on any private property, we're just gonna store it.
Yeah.
We should never not have a problem with storing it there.
Probably not. You don't have to like mount it.
Yeah, it just can't be mounted.
I thought it was one of those cement ones that.
No, that's what I was saying there. I've seen the ones that Fred was talking about that's already in place and those are in the ground. This is just,
Just big and heavy.
yeah, this is just something to put a bike.
You're not gonna walk away with that.
Yeah. But, I just thought that because it was just a gesture from her doing so much good for the community that us board could donate.
It's a beautiful space back there. Put a lot of money into that.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right, just a reminder, we have a little luncheon here on Thursday at noon. You guys are all invited. You all got an invite, so you all.
Thursday at noon?
Come right after our
Cindy
first
kind of
round.
wanted people
Yeah,
to tell,
right.
Cindy wanted people to tell her if they're coming to figure out how much food they have. Tell us, Cindy, if you're coming.
What time is that interview?
You don't know yet.
We don't know yet, but there is lunch at.
There's lunch at noon.
Right after
Tell
the
us, it's virtual. We can do it while we're eating.
Yeah, there we
That's
go.
true.
Okay, so I just want to remind you, it's gonna be,
Here?
here, right here.
Rusty?
Out of order, I forgot, police report, they don't have anything
Oh, yeah.
specifically for us today. The police chief is home for Christmas, it's been, and he shouldn't be, but he's been in the office, cause you can't stop him doing things and keeping that thing moving along, as have all the other officers, so he will be here for a week or so, and then he has to go back down to his hospital for some more rehab.
I think he plans to be here Thursday.
Thursday for the
Oh,
lunch.
wonderful.
And then, yeah, so we're very pleased that he's doing as well as he is. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the-
Yeah, thanks for the report.
And our two,
Two new guys.
new guys have returned from the academy and are doing field training, so you'll see them out working their shifts. Next section, communications. The only one I got is NICOM. Right now it's me and Fran. Going to NICOM.
Yeah.
Mike, is that January or February? February, thank you.
First,
It's not Valentine's
first
Day
weekend in
this year.
February.
Right. Oh, I don't know if I put my calendar here.
Okay.
Is that,
It's okay. No, the-
the,
nobody else needs it.
5th through the 7th?
That's right, because I'm going away for cheer on that weekend.
You're sick this time of year.
Well, no, I mean, it's like, we go the 5th through the 7th, and then I go away again the 10th. through the 12th. So I'm home for 2 days, but. So anyway, that's, if you want to go, you gotta get with Cindy soon, because she's booking all that.
Yeah, I did notice they were tearing the water and gas out of that house on Spencer.
Yeah.
The company there taking up their valves or whatever they were doing.
All that's moving, which is good. What else I have? Mayor's report, I don't have much. It was, it's gonna cause controversy. I was asked by the fire department to appoint Charles Platter as the fire commissioner.
Is fire what?
Fire commissioner. And last thing.
So did you do that?
I did.
You're appointing Charles.
And.
He's got more free time.
Yeah.
They were very, nice to you about 2 years ago when they were
Yeah,
crappy.
remember that. Everybody deserves a second chance.
Oh, you bet.
Last thing's public comment. Wondering public comment.
Move to adjourn.
All right.
Thanks.
10 o'clock.
9:56. See you later. Nate.
See you later, Nate.
Hey.
Thank you.